I'm out in the water, come jump right in, 'cause we going farther than we ever been. I'm out in the water, where I learned to swim, 'cause we going farther than we ever been. I'm out in the water, come jump right in, 'cause we going farther than we ever been. I'm out in the water, come jump right in, we going farther than we ever been.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's probably all right.
Yeah, it looks good. Solid lines.
Sounds good.
Solid lines, solid lines.
I got some crappy headphones.
Bing.
I don't know who. I think this is Jason's headphones because these headphones are all twisted up.
Jason's got a
And I know Jason be twisting his headphone cords.
chode for a cord.
I do it a little bit too, but not to this extent.
I always untwist mine.
Yeah, I twist it.
I
and then
twist it
untwist
so I can untwist it because I want to be untwisting it, but you got to twist it first.
Here we are, Ocean Waves.
Ocean Waves, episode 25.
25.
You know what's better than 24?
Quarter of 100, dude.
25.
25.
Can't believe
25.
you missed me making that joke.
Can't believe you
Huge.
missed crossover episode.
Yeah,
Huge
that's
numbers.
fine. I'm so sad about that. I missed the opportunity to meet Eddie's dream girl. And we made the show. I don't actually know anything about her, which is the reason I say I missed the opportunity for it. But I was at one of the gigs, and she does something similar in the same building, and she had left some of her equipment in the room I was working in. And so she comes in, and she's like, sorry guys, I just had to grab a couple things. She goes, and I was just focused on what I was doing, so I completely missed it. But she goes, what is this, a crossover episode? And nobody got it, nobody laughed. But it's an ongoing or running joke in BoJack Horseman, and it was so funny. Like thinking about that joke, and anybody that's watched BoJack got that joke, and it is so funny. That was such a perfectly placed joke, and I just missed it because I was so wrapped up in what I was doing, and I was so beat about it because I saw her as she was walking out, and my first thought when I saw her was oh, she literally looks like Eddie's type. And then later, 10 minutes later, when I processed her joke, I was like, oh, damn.
The minute he told me the joke, I got it.
Yeah.
I was started busting out.
Yeah. It was so funny. I didn't put two and two together in the moment. Because the whole joke on the show is BoJack can't stand this other character, Peanut Butter.
Yeah, Mr. Peanut Butter.
Yeah, and every time Mr. Peanut Butter sees him, he goes, BoJack and Mr. Peanut Butter in the same room? What is this, crossover episode? Because they both had their own TV shows. And like I said, she does something very similar that I do. So she had a different set that she was doing at the same time that I was doing. So anybody that wasn't coming to what I do was going to what she does.
True.
And so I was like, dang. It was just such a good job. And I felt so bad primarily, too, because I know she knows how good of a joke that was. Yeah. And...
What great timing.
That's hilarious.
And I felt so bad because the teachers didn't get it. But... The other people in the room didn't get it, and I felt so bad that none of us laughed at that joke. Because I know she walked away thinking that was such a good joke, and nobody got it.
Facts.
Nobody gets it, and I got it. I just didn't get it in time, and I hate when that happens to me. But yeah, that was
true.
I don't know. Sometimes I like to just lay a joke down. Nobody gets it at first, and then 30 minutes later, it's yeah, they'll get it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Have that little smile you walk out with. It's you'll get it in 30 minutes.
They'll get it later. I like to hope that in her brain, I pegged her as somebody that watched that show.
I mean, you didn't say shit.
I mean, obviously.
Probably not.
I mean,
unless you have brought it up at different times.
No, because I'd never, I just heard about her and what she did. I'd never actually even seen her there before this day. Because it was a crossover episode.
My guess is she probably thought no one got it.
Yeah.
And
Well,
yeah.
I'm hoping along the regards of what Eddie said, where he's like, drop the tidbit, they'll get it later. I hope that she took me as somebody that got it later.
Okay,
I
yeah,
really
yeah.
did appreciate her joke. So I
Facts.
hope in some sense that she was brought peace about that joke. I don't want it to be like that.
Devastated
Because I
life
definitely
that
have
no
a
one
couple.
laughed at it.
Yeah. I have a couple memories of that where I'm just
Tough.
like, that was f***ing beat. Like, yeah, I'm so mad that nobody got that.
That's
'Cause
key.
it was so
You
good.
know what's funny, dude? At the end of the day, there will never be a joke that I tell that someone won't laugh at. Because if no one laughs at it, I'm going to fucking laugh at that shit.
Oh, yeah.
100%. Harder than I do if everyone laughs. You want to play bowling? I said later.
Yeah, you gotta be patient.
Yeah. See how long that lasts.
Right.
I'm going to give it 2 minutes. But, all right. Welcome to episode 25. Jason is not here right now. He's at the hospital.
The guru
in a
is passing a
terrible
vibe.
accident.
No, he
Terrible
didn't.
accident.
No, he didn't.
Purposeful, terrible accident.
He's in a beautiful vacation. He's in the beautiful hiatus of post-birth where you're in this vacation at the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
People are tending to you and making sure everything's good.
He's bringing in us another high-pitched voice behind the camera.
Yep, you're rocking the reins.
Go.
You're rocking
I'm coming.
the reins of what it's like to be a father now. And,
Right.
and
Speaking of father duties.
yes, father duty. Exactly. I thought it was good timing to segue in that. But also, we set up this room, me, you, and Calvin. So it's only right that we're the last to podcast in this room.
Facts.
For the time being. Who knows how everything unfolds. But with the baby being born and everything, we got to shift the studio to a less... What's the word for it? So sound doesn't travel. Because sound travels pretty far in this.
Echoey, I guess.
Yeah. But
But,
the
like, it's not
other,
really too
the back
echoey.
room is carpeted and it's in the back. We can close the door. So overall, it'll probably be more beneficial
Yeah.
and at this point, we were rocking the diagonal view anyway. So the sign isn't like right in the background anyway. So
Yeah,
My-
right now it should be like right in the corner. Like
Yeah.
it's a picture.
yeah. So
On the
my
wall.
original idea for it is not like it's like right behind us like this in this sense. So even with it, the wall space in the other room, like we'll find a good angle and yeah, it'll be in there. I will miss it out in the front. I think it's a nice centerpiece when you walk in the house.
Yeah.
You know, but at the end of the day, you gotta adapt to what's around you, and it'll probably be more beneficial
That's what I'm thinking also.
just based off like as far as being a nuisance to the people who live in the house when what's going on, and then sound traveling, overall sound quality, and then we can. So we'll definitely have to make the room. We'll have to design how everything goes, where the sign goes, where based off camera angle and I was debating if we should do like multiple angles. But I think still in this stage of the podcast, there's no real reason to. Like there's no.
Well, something that Calvin and I were actually thinking about, we were like kind of half joking, but now I was like, actually, it might not be a bad idea for like a couple of them. Was doing like a Skype version or like a Zoom version of the podcast, where it's like almost like like when you're watching like Let's Players or like gamers and they have like their face in there and they're playing with their friends, they have their face and their friend's face. It'd be something like that.
True.
Yeah, on occasion.
But yeah, I don't know. I think that even though there's only the one angle and it's a stand, like I have seen like so many people have like they have way more money than we do. And they still do like the one view and all they do is like zoom into their face a little bit. In my mind, I'm just like, until there's a point where there's someone like we're live doing it. If we're at the point where there's live and there's a dude and he can go 1, 2, 3, 4 and all the camera angles are set, like you said, every time they're in this, we have a studio that's designated for the podcast. Like Joe Rogan in a sense, where Joe Rogan now, like with his Jamie, he'll like view, like there'll be all three of us and it'll be like one on your face, one, and it'll like zoom when you're talking, it'll zoom in over there, and then or it'll go to both of them when it's more of like a
back and forth
in the middle conversation. And then they have like where they can put up what they're talking about like on the little screen below and stuff. So he's really good at what he's doing, and you know, and so but while you're recording, it's a lot easier to do that if you have someone that wants to do that, or you know, whatever. So I think that just for now, like, I think even in the sense like, yeah, the different camera angles would bring a different aspect, but it's, to me, like, I'd rather do like what we just did with this last one that's coming out, 17. It was just like, it was cool because in that episode the idea is born. I'm sitting here, I'm like this, and I'm like, okay, what we need to do is we need to get like some sort of like sign that says like technical difficulties or something. We got a couple weeks to get it done, and we got to do that so that way there's something, because I don't want to do the logo again, and I don't want to do a picture of us again. And then I'm sitting there hearing that while I'm editing what like the picture that you had sent and everything. I was like, all right, bet, like that's so dope that like the beginning will start with the technical difficulties. It'll go for 10 minutes, and then it jumps into us, and then we talk about that afterwards, just naturally, you know. So it's like a really cool like whatever. So in my mind, like that is the idea, the different ideas you have, different things that we could have like segments. Like what I'm thinking is, if we have the projector up there, we could have a camera that aims like behind us, and then the camera that angles, and then every time we want to jump something in, I don't have to like find it. I can just, whatever parts I like the best from the other angle, I can just add those in, you know, and then just cut out the parts that whatever, or I don't have to do anything. I can just lay the overlay over top, and it'll just flip to that layer.
Something that just popped in my mind, and like this might be like a future project, but I was thinking it's like a Bluetooth receiver, and like you could just like press a button, and it would cut the camera 1, cut the camera 2, cut the camera 3.
Yeah, I've looked all that stuff up.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, what I've come down to is that piece of technology right there
is
one of the most highest qualities recording functional video cameras you can get. Besides like a nice video, whatever that we would get whatever to do these videos, or even like the real video cameras, like just a boom and all, you know. But there's one that would have been the best option, where it's like a thing of 4, and you get 4, and you can mount them wherever you want, and then you can switch them, but someone has to be switching them live.
That's what I'm saying. You get the receiver, and like when someone's talking, you just click it.
Yeah, you could do that if you want to do that. But then it adds another thing where now you're leaving the conversation to be like an editor.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like, I know how much work I do. Only last time when we got hype about what everyone's feelings are or whatever, right, and shit like that. Only at that point in time do I take myself out, like, or when I talk about it. Other than that, like, I'm not sitting here right now thinking about how the angle looks. As long as the shit's recording, we make sure that it's fine. Like, the levels are good. That's on. I heard the bing. Do not disturb's on. Blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Then at this point, I can remove myself from being the behind-the-scenes guy. I can just do what I'm supposed to do on the mic. So by doing that, it's a thing, but you're also going to take yourself out a tiny bit. And then if you're not fully fluent either, then I have to go back there and edit it anyway. The other thing is, you just record all 4 at the same time. You line them all up, and then as I just pick the best angle. So, but that just adds extra time to the footage part. But I already know how to do I already know how to go through footage. I already know how to pick good clips. I already know how to, you know what I mean? I already know how to do all that. But what I don't know is the different things like in the program, like the time code and the stuff like that I learned this week by doing it. So it's like, okay, if we spend more time on the post-production side of it, not the pre, you know what I mean? Like, then I'll only get better at that for when we make the music videos, when we make these other, we're only getting better and better and better and better and better. Drawing, animating, like, we're only going to get better and better and better and better. So it's like, for now, like, I'd rather have like the in there, or like maybe we'll add little segments and we'll make little segment cards, and that will be, when you're watching it, it's not just the standalone camera angle, it's the whatever. And then if we do what I said, where we maybe have 2 cameras, but then at the same time, now one of us has to be recording too, as well as you. And then I have to put both those videos, and it's more space on the computer.
Right.
It's everything. So compiled up, it's like, yes, these are probably better. It is probably better to have the different angles. It is probably better to have someone on the other side producing you. It is all these different things, but that is to the point of the technical difficulties to start till when that picture is finished and the next time it gets used or whatever it gets used for. And then it's like this. It's like, but where did it start? And it shows progression. That's everything. Like when we're at episode 250, maybe we'll have all that going.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And then it's like, look where we started. Progress. It's real. Like this is real. Not like how a lot of people make music where they'll only put out like whatever they view as like the best songs. And they just, this is me. You know what I mean? Versus like where you have your entire catalog out there. And from the good to the whatever, someone's going to, like, if you go look at Russ has all his shit from fucking way back. You can go back and listen to that or the newest thing that popped out that's very well produced, very well doing, boom, you know. You're saying that?
But it was funny that you went into the music thing because as you were talking, the first thing I thought of was, to me, the difference between, like, when I was first starting music on my Lonesome on my phone, SoundCloud and Apple. Because I had a couple songs that I put out like on Apple and on everything through the whatevers, but mainly I was just kind of dropping stuff on SoundCloud because I was like, I want to be able to listen to this song, and the easiest way to do that is to put it.
SoundCloud was a great. It's unfortunate the money kind of came through because like the beginning, especially like all those.
It was
that
so
phase.
Once
they started trying to like go to SoundCloud for whatever, like try to mine whatever was there versus like let it just be natural growth, you know,
and
it's kind of where it went left.
And so and I still have the stuff on SoundCloud, stuff on Apple Music, but the songs that are on Apple Music I didn't love, but I also put way more time, effort, like thought process into. And then stuff on SoundCloud was I want this out. Like, I just want to I want to be able to show anybody this and hear it wherever I am. And so it's the difference between those two things. In the sense of the level of care that you're going to give. Because everything you do, and it's the hook we came up with the other day where we said life is all not perspective. It was another P word.
Perception?
No. There's another P word. Life is all
perspective.
Principle. The entirety of life is based on principles. In the sense of this is how a chair should be made. Somebody else seeing that, wanting to break that status quo. Somebody else wanting to better it. Somebody else wanting to break it down. Everything is principles. Everybody stands on their principles. You learn what you learn. You absorb what you absorb. Your brain starts firing, producing its own scripts, and then you run off your principles. Everything in life is principles. And so the fundamental essence of what you're going to take care in and what you're going to get done, excuse me, is your principle. It's what matters the most. And there's a lot of times where you don't do the things that matter because your principle on it is so heavy on you that you're not going to end up completing your task. Instead, you're going to think about the task that has to be done. And that was a big thing on this sign for me for a while, where I was like, I just had 1,000,001 ideas pinging. I have 2 other signs that I want to do because I had so many ideas pinging. And I was just like, all right, let me nail this down. And so the one that's going to air in 17 is the first one that I was like, let me just throw it on. Here's what I liked out of my rough draft. Because I scribbled a rough draft right before I went to bowling on the back of a semi-important sheet that I had copies of, so I didn't feel like I felt like I could spare the one.
Mm-hmm.
And threw that down, recreated it, and I was happy with it. And I said it this earlier. I was happy with it, but I wasn't content yet. And the stage I'm getting towards now, I think I'm going to be content with, and then I'm going to want to keep pushing past content.
Yeah. But at some point, there's some things where you got to put it, like the deadline of whatever. Like Jason, just like with the Guru album, he decided to change his scope of where he was going to do with it based off time, only because of this predetermined date that he set of when he wants the album to come out. on top of the fact that the baby's coming, and he wanted to be able to remove himself from the pressures of all of it, of the music and whatever, to be able just to focus on the baby for a little bit, you know. So at that point, like that was all self-imposed, which caused him to create a version or to create this thing that would have maybe not have necessarily come out like this if he would just follow through to whenever the idea finally finished, you know. And it's funny because like is music it's like complete opposite. It's like on the podcast, like at this point I want to do more in the post-production side. I want to, you know, we're gonna bring the quality every time, you know, and only get better and better and better. And most people are coming for the vote, like you're coming to hear what the conversation is, to join the conversation, right? So it's really vocals anyway. Like when I'm watching a podcast, I'm really listening until something gets so intriguing, or there's something that's funny, or like they're showing something on the screen that makes me look for 5, 10, 15, 20 seconds, and then I'll go back to what I'm doing, right? So it's like that point of like what the podcast is, which is why we don't need to do so much without having all the other things around.
Right.
To have like where we have different angles or to get people entertained to watch, because the point is maybe not to necessarily look at the screen, but to just be able to like clean your house and just listen, you know. And maybe it's on the TV, so when they say you can look at the TV real quick and then go back to what you're doing, you know. That's what the podcast is almost like. Like a movie you can't really do. Like a movie you gotta like, unless you've seen the movie enough, you like the only really way to really enjoy the movie is to be able to watch it too. Now if you're driving or whatever, you're just put in the position where you have to listen to it and make up your own, like we were talking about on The Journey, when there's a movie going and you're driving, you're listening,
right,
and whatever. But at the end of the day, like you still want to watch the movie, like you still want to watch the movie, right? So that, well, on the podcast side, you're just listening. So at that point, there's more to do in the post-production, where it's like you can add these little people who are watching, boom. And if we start adding like the comment section of the pod, I don't think there's any new comments that I could, when I was looking. I didn't really look, but for the next one, I'll make sure I look. But like that segment, we can make a card, title card. So it's like a title card pops in, boom, comment, you know. It's just like in SpongeBob, it's like 3 hours later, right? And it's like that little split second, like segues you to the next part of SpongeBob, right? So it's like,
right.
Okay, now, so in that sense, but in music, what I'm trying to do now.
One sec. Title card.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to think of. Dude, for like hours, I was sitting there, I was just like, what the is this word?
Yeah, title
like,
card.
What is this phrase?
Scene,
Yeah.
you know, all those different things. But
Title
then in
card.
music at this point, I'm trying to make sure that I get the best quality possible when I'm recording. The moment is more important than the post-production, like that. But in the reverse, it's like this, like the moment happens, and then the post-production is where I spend my time to get it to where the people are going to see.
Right.
For music, I'm trying to get more on the side of like, this is perfect, and then me add a little bit of reverb to it, and then me add a little bit of whatever, instead of like, this is the music, it's not really exactly where I want to go, and then we try to do these things to get it to a point where maybe you think other people will receive it better or whatever it is. So it's like, and then I just find myself where you become content faster with the recording, because it's hard. It's not like now some people it's easier, their voice might be more whatever and blah blah blah, you know. But as a person, it's hard to, you know, fully immerse into that and get that take that you want sometimes, because there might just be something going on or whatever. Like the past 2 days I've been trying to record this song, but there's too much mucus in my lungs, so I have to wait like 2 more days, because I just thought I was like in time, like when we're going around performing, like you got to deal with it. But the song's already made, like people are already coming, they already heard the song, they already love it. So when I'm making the song, it has to be that point that Jason was saying, that whatever that is, that full on, there's no doubt that this is it. You don't have 1 inch, one thought that I need there should be another take, or I need to ad lib just to fix this little. That's what I'm trying to get to now. That's my personal journey, and I think blending the auto-tune with my natural voice is me getting there, you know. And that's where I'm gonna start getting, like, really aiming for. So when I'm on the mic, like, I have the song one, and like the last one I did too, I'm like, all right, this could be like, this is fine. but it's not. Like, it's not 100%. Like, I don't feel like I really hit it like that. And then once you get it that one time, then boom, you know, you support it with a couple other whatever. You do all the little tricks and things. The ear candy goes dumb, and people love it. Now when I'm on stage, if I hawk up a loogie here and there, and it's a little scratchy, like, it's the essence. Like, I'm watching the Bob Marley documentary, and like, he's not hitting every fucking note perfectly when he's performing. You're fucking tired. You're tired. You're sick. There's fucking whatever. You're dehydrated. You're drinking water. Blah, blah, but the feeling is, that's the point. What does the song feel like? And then even if you listen to like old Joey Badass records, like, they are not produced nearly to the T that his records are now. But still, those songs contend with so many songs all around. You could put that up to bat against so much music, and it's not even produced like that. And it's like, because that, it was the feeling, it's the rawness, the progression, the showing of like, this is what we could do at the time. This is what we did, and it was still dope. And then like, as time goes on, then it's like even better and better and better and better and better than anything. With anything. So that's why it's like a weird balance with the music and the podcast, because they're reversed. The music, I'm trying to do everything I can before I gotta produce, do post production, and on the podcast, I'm trying to do everything I can do during post production to make it. And it's like a weird balance, right? And then with the music videos, like, it's gonna be the blend of both. You need the good shot at the time, and you need the good post production to make the video slat like that. You know, so it's a balance of both. Yeah. The music video. So that's why both things are getting you into that thing. And then with the animation,
that's what I was gonna say.
The drawing.
I feel like with those and with like the TV shows and the movies, that's pre-production. Like, before we even actually having everything you're gonna want in it. That way, it's just adding to it.
Yeah.
Supposed to, and that's the reason. Like you say, we need to sit down and like get some of those.
And that's the thing. I was like, I'm happy that you did the thing, because I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, you have someone right next to you who can do this way faster, who's flawless in certain ways. Yet you still do it. You still did it on your, let me do it or whatever. And it's like, showing us, okay, if you can do, and then I saw your sketch, and I saw that, and I was like, okay, if you can get from the sketch to that, I can get from the sketch to that too. I can get from my sketch to certain, like, so I was like, okay, I need to start, because I have the pen upstairs. I need to start getting an iPad. But
the pen is so life-changing.
But exactly, change that. But there's still like 7 more podcasts to get edited. So it's like, okay, I gotta go do that. That way, now it's 1 a week. You know what I mean? Easy money. 1 a week. Boom, boom, boom. I've been doing 2 a week. You know what I'm saying? So, or 3. So just 1 a week. That just adds 1 camera angle. You know, makes it easier for me. The thing already has, so I gotta line up the audio anyway. So I already gotta do so much. Then if we're gonna add the time cards or whatever, the title cards, just different things, boom, boom. You know, but 1 a week is easy money. Then I have so much all this other time to do, whether it's, and then once the album's done, then it's like a whole nother plethora of time that gets brought in to whatever. And the better you get, the faster you go. The more you work on it, like, you're gonna get faster at getting your sketches to the screen. And then once you do the animation app enough, you're going to get faster at animating things. And then once we have multiple people who are good at different things, then it's like, okay, draw, animate, boom, go. We spend 4 hours in the room. At the end of the 4 hours, you spent 1 hour doing something. They spent 1 hour doing something. Boom. Then we spent 2 hours doing all of it together. And we spent the last hour perfecting. And now we have 4 hours. We have this whole thing. And it took everyone to be able to do it.
But and it was funny too, because as I was doing it, one of the main things I was thinking of was actually something you said to Bree about you, when you're like, when you find yourself just an idol, this is something you want to do. Like, just think about it that way.
Yeah.
And after what, like, every time I was just kind of playing a game that I didn't even really feel like playing, I was just like, all right, bet.
Yeah.
Let me
then pick it up. Yeah.
But.
No, and I brought
dad abilities.
Yeah. It's alright. It's a kid, man.
Right.
I bought a book too to like draw all the ideas out. But I have like an idea of how I want the title, like the front page to look. So I've just been waiting to get like to the vibe of what I want to draw. But I have ideas to draw. I want to draw out like the merch that we talked about, and then that's another thing. We like at some point soon we should get new merch. You know, it's been a couple years.
I have an idea for that, but I don't know if my idea is the next one.
you know. So
I
that's what-
definitely think we should do like stickers again.
I want to do the
yeah,
bus
stickers.
sticker.
Stickers is good.
We should
Stickers
do
good,
the
and
last
we need to
sticker,
do the link tree.
I want to do the bus sticker.
I said it so
The
many
bus.
times, but I need to
Yeah.
do that. I need
The
to do the
link
link
tree.
tree with the QR code, the new one. So that when we pass out cards, it's the new wave.
No, but when I was like, "Hey, Papa, you're supposed to be quiet right now," remember? He goes, oh, "Sorry, I forgot." Wait for it.
2, 1.
Do.
Let's
Awkwardly
see, man.
hovering.
It's a misfire.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, by the end of the day, like it's all everything is progression.
Mhm.
Everything is progression. In the end, and my whole thing last week was that no one can complain about shit
Mhm.
unless you put everything you fucking had into this and it's still wherever. Then then I'm okay with anyone bitching about it. But when I can't bitch about it because I know that because the podcast could be done. I could have drawn this already, blah blah blah, and I've had spent idle, and not that there's so much like there's always gonna be something else to do. So it's not like once I get all this done, then it would. But it's how do you feel you spent your time in the last week? Did I waste any time at all?
Mhm.
Yes. How much? You know, the screen time thing.
Right.
What's your screen time at? But instead of that, it's like not because you had to be on it, because you're texting your wife, or we're texting about something in the group chat, or you're listening to a podcast or music or whatever it was, versus like you were scrolling on this, you're wasting time, whatever. Just that 1 hour can get you to draw get you to that next layer, you know, get you to that next verse, get you to that next idea. You know, you could have listened to a song for an hour and have a whole music video idea lined up. It's like we need to go here, we need this, we need that, we need that. When can we all do it? We all jump in, we do it. Who wants to edit? How do we get it done? Blah blah blah. How do we keep it? We got the planner to start so we can hold some accountability of the different things.
And that's gonna
You
be
know, and I already had a
super fire.
book, that's why I didn't bring this. I didn't want it to intersect. I have a book, like the drawing, the sketchbook basically of all the whatever, and I'm gonna do. I have a title page I want to draw first, and then I'm gonna do like the December idea. I'm gonna draw my idea out for that, and then like I said before, like scan it on the printer, and then pass out the papers. So whatever, never touches the phone until it's ready to touch the phone. It never touches until you're drawing it. You know, all these different things to get us to the point where even if your idea for the whatever merch might not be the next one, but the next time we do merch after that we go back and we go, okay, this is what okay, let's do this, and just all those things. So it's like the balance of everything, of like spending time, but also I like to just sit and play Fortnite for a little bit, get my challenges, play for an hour. I like when I eat, I like watching something or whatever. So it's like, but then how much, when you're taking a dump, how much, what's added time? Like I don't know how many in my entire life, how many added minutes I've had when you're already like sitting down to take a dump and you're done, but you're just like chilling. You're just chilling with shit on your ass, really. For who knows how long, like, until your feet start locking up, and now you got like pins and needles because you're watching like a fucking squirrel like chase another squirrel or something, and then now that video led you to the next.
And his wife.
What'd you say?
Nigel.
Nigel. Shout out Nigel.
Speaking of squirrels, I resaw one of my favorite videos, but the two squirrels that are on the tree, and the first one mounts the other one,
I'm
and then
that.
it flips around and mounts it, and then it cuts, and it's just that's so funny. I'll show you guys after this.
Facts.
But that does
That's
bring me to something I was gonna mention earlier, and I feel like I mentioned it before, but eventually I want us to get to the point where we have like a screen that, whether it's like right behind the camera, next to it, whatever, but like just a small TV that we could cast things to.
Yeah, that's what
So,
like the projector's gonna be.
Yeah.
And that's
true,
what I
true,
was
true.
saying, I could be down with having a second camera angle that points to whatever it is.
My thought process with that too was like in the moment where you're sending it to that, you also send it to that. That way we can kind of like timestamp it and add it onto as a like over, not even an overlay, but as a
Yeah, but the same. If you just had like one, say you just had one camera looking at it, and records the whole time. Whenever you stop the cast, like as you're going through the timeline of the video, you'll see the screen going. You'll see the screen not going, and then on that point, you can just cut out all the in between, and then you can cut out everything. You can just keep the parts that you want. So if we only want to show like 10 seconds of the cast, we show the 10 seconds, and then I just cut everything else, and then you just layer on top of the main podcast. So as it's going, whenever you want to cut, it will just cut there for the 10 seconds, and it'll cut back. You know, so then it's just like we're just picking out the whatever. So it's not that much work to just pick out the points that we do want. You know, but at the same time, it adds the space, memory, all that stuff to the hard drives, to the computer and everything. So it's like, I think for now, like the way we're at, like I think that would be the best. That I think the one camera angle is best. I don't know how to do where you could like just do a little box maybe.
Yeah, like a picture in picture.
Yeah,
because that's kind of what I was thinking.
We could do that
for
too,
like
or
content,
whatever.
and that's what I meant by like, because if we did it that way, then it could. But I do like what you're saying about like watching us watch it, because there are gonna be times where it's like, wait, go back.
Yeah.
And so instead of having to sit
And
there and
you got,
edit
like,
and add it back in, it's
The view of us like this.
or
down.
if, because my other thought process about that too is also if like say somebody's going to put something on and they screw it up, and we're sitting here talking about them screwing up, as opposed to how I was initially saying about the picture in picture. You're not gonna watch the screw up in the picture in picture.
Yeah.
But if it's watching the screen, that's different.
But so this is all ideas. Like we'll see. Like first, the main thing when we do the new room is I want to make sure that we have like a solid camera angle, that we don't have to really like the whole sign is in it every time, everyone's in it every time. Like we don't really have to worry about it, like you said, like a more permanent. Then it's like also going to be a room when we're not podcasting. So how do we adopt that idea that you said? Maybe it's like make a stand in the wall and just drill like that, and then have like clips at the side so any phone can, and then if it's in the middle, then it won't affect the camera. I don't know. Just we can brainstorm the ideas to get it where it's like, yeah, this is the angle. You just slip your phone in. Ding.
It's my thought process is even like, and I'm gonna be willing to kind of throw this one out there too. If you were to take a phone mount with a clip, right, so where it could just clip onto anything, all you really got to do is make sure 2 nails are anchored.
Yeah, exactly.
And clip that.
Yeah.
And that's what I meant. Like that can be a $10 thing. And
Yeah,
that's
100%.
I'll give it to anyone because.
And that's almost what that is.
Yeah, pretty
but
much.
we have a fucking big ass stone, and it's like not really made for like the newer phone. You know what I mean? It's like the angles, like you can't angle it, whatever. So it's like not, but that is the idea. Though.
And so I feel like in solution to what we were saying about the video thing is having both, because at a moment like this, we can take a picture of the setup afterwards and then clip that in the picture in picture.
Yeah.
And
that's all also posts like
yeah.
that I could do. I could add little pictures of the whatever.
Our podcast is really just teaching you guys how to make a podcast.
Just documenting what it is to do it. Like it's not as simple as buying equipment and hitting record. Like, it's not that simple. Even to the point of buying the equipment and trying to set it up was not that simple. Like, it took 48 hours to really fit. And I still, even now, we make the joke every time like how I should do a tutorial video of how it is, and I'm still like when I'm doing it, I'm like, I don't know if this is gonna work, and then it works or whatever. So I think I do have it down of showing of like how it could work, and I could actually get a good tutorial in. So maybe I'll do that.
As long as we can figure out to record. You know, someone just always forgets to hit record.
Yeah.
I don't know who that person is.
And then you could have the mics going, and then the camera fucks up.
Not introducing names such as Dwin's. I'm Calbeeno.
Oh yeah, I don't think
Episode
Indigo Ryan the
25.
Navigator, episode 25.
I don't know who
Feeling
this guy
good,
Dwin
feeling
is,
great.
But he must not be very intelligent.
Tired of
for
the
not hitting record.
hey.
Not record Dwayne.
Yeah.
One thing I have that I think about subconsciously with
Dwin
the
the King
podcast
here.
is
What's good?
how much do we talk about I feel like we might not be talking about like the world enough, but we do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
From a certain way, but like I guess it's like news events or whatever that happen. So
That
maybe
is
maybe
true.
we could add a little segment in there where
That's where the
How
we
canon
bring
comes
up-
in. That's where the canon
like a
comes
current
in. That's
current
where the
event.
canon comes in. That's where the canon comes in. And we
Current
can even
events
color
canon.
code them so that it's like, if you want to aim for a current event that week, aim for orange. Aim to grab orange. Aim to like whatever.
Oh yeah,
And
true.
so-
oh yeah, they can. Yeah.
And
That's
I
a good
do
idea.
have a running blueprint for the canon. I
Well,
was like,
at the end of the day,
I'm
until
too broke to
this is
buy
a great
it.
idea, and I would love
So
to
I'm
do
gonna
it,
make
but until I see a cannon that shoots fucking little notes up in the air that we can snag.
I'm gonna make it.
Also, dude, what I think is like we do it, but in that thought, my next thought is okay, the current events or whatever. But at the end of the day, like I think that we need to stop bringing up what our topic is. Like, don't make it so apparent that this is what you wanted to talk about. Just bring it up. You know what I mean? Just like if
Well,
we were,
there's times where we do that.
we do. But then there's times where it's like, okay, my topic of the day was, and it feels like it becomes now like formal.
See, but it's
And
also
I've done it, you know, and it just look outside looking in because my true, unless we shift the focus of the podcast, because my true focus is incepting that conversation that's on the porch and putting it here on the microphone.
But there's a
with-
lot of times where I wait till that conversation on the porch to say something, and I'll say, "Oh, I've been waiting to tell you guys this."
Yeah,
In a moment,
but yeah,
like
but also in that's the thing. It's like, oh, I've been waiting to tell you this. That is the natural thing versus like what I came today to tell you was.
Yeah, I feel you
you know,
on that.
you know what I'm saying.
But
And it's
to the same-
it's very small. It's not like super whatever, but it's very like it's just very subtle where it's like the conversation feels more forced than natural. Just that.
Anyways,
little
my
split.
topic of the day.
Exactly. But and so it's like, how do you bring? So maybe you don't have to not say this is what you wanted to talk about, but don't bring it up as this is my topic. Bring it up in a different light, like, oh, I've been waiting for this moment to tell you,
But
or
I'm a person
or-
that kind of like I enjoy that aspect, especially like going back and listening to because I found when I sit there and just listen to one all the way through, I just can't. I'll get through it and then not have heard a single word because I'll be too busy thinking about all the things we were thinking about in the moment, as opposed to listening what we were saying about them in the moment. And so I've been just kind of like playing a couple of them, and then when I go back, I'm on a new part because I paused it. But
Do you put cuts in it? I'm sorry to interrupt you. Do you put cuts in the podcast where like, all right, like Dwin's topic, Ryan's topic? Or
No,
not,
so
not
what-
necessarily like what it is, but
no,
like,
so
what the topic was.
there is. So what I do is technically, if I felt like spending more time and whatever, like I would put the time. Like, so this is what I do. If you go to Oceans on Arrival on YouTube, and then you go, like, the last videos are all the podcasts, so they're the recent ones. But if you go to the playlist and you go to Ocean Waves, say you click on, like, Ocean Waves 15, it'll be, like, I usually keep, like, the same kind of phrase where it's, like, members of Ocean on Arrival speak about vast topics, like, on personal and worldwide views. From
Okay.
personal. So that's pretty much every time. But right now, the gauntlet's going. So each one, I'm like, this was the beginning of the gauntlet. This episode set is like podcast, and it's like members of Ocean on Arrival are halfway of the gauntlet, the podcast gauntlet. You know what I mean? So I add just a little bit of flavor in there like that. And then the next line is, what I started doing is, when it's all four of us, it's just members of Ocean on Arrival. But when it now is three of us, it's Dwin. It's the last one I said, the way I put it was the Navigator, the Kin, and the Zealot. You know what I'm saying? Or sometimes I'll do Dwin, Calbeeno, and Reyen. Or I'll do Bree, you know what I mean? Or it'll be, so it's like, or Jason, Beano, or like Jocelyn, Beano, Reyen, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. So I'll talk about, and then under that is just a list. It'll be like, what do we do today? We talked about, like, it'll be like behind the scenes, or like, or when I brought up you brought up a topic like, in 17 you said, what game when you're a child was like the hardest game you ever played during your childhood,
Okay,
right?
yeah,
And then
yeah.
Calvin was debating, like, he was like, okay, well, what, like, if it was like how long it took me to beat the level or blah blah blah, and Eddie said, you said, however you want to interpret it or whatever. So then in the comment or the description it says most challenging video game during your childhood, and that's the boom, and it'll go, and then so when I go back and I listen so last thing I do before I send it, I go back and I listen, and I skip like every like 3 minutes for them. Then sometimes it'll get interesting, so I listen for a little bit. I'm like, okay, I'm editing, and I'll go another 3-4 minutes, and I'll just kind of pick all the topics out. So I could go into the YouTube and put at 5-minute mark we talk about this, and then
that way it has that skip.
Yeah, and then at the 10-minute mark you could go here when we talk about art versus entertainment.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, but I also kind of like that it's not there, because then it doesn't get people to jump. You know, it doesn't get people to jump in. Like, it makes people like go listen, and then versus like if you get the 15-second clip, now you might go to the podcast and then watch that 5 minutes and then leave.
Facts.
I want you to jump from the first second, listen to the whole thing, just listen. You know what I mean? That's my goal, is to get people to listen all the way through. And naturally, people are going to stop whenever they want and whatever. You know what I mean? But at the same time, the topics are listed in order. So based off the podcast, if the podcast is 2 hours long and there's 10 topics, you could assume that every like 12 minutes or so is a new topic. So you could just go like that.
Facts.
So there's ways to do it
if
you really want to. But also, I'm trying to make like, I don't want people to click on the video and be able to see like based on the time like everything we talked about, because it's not every single topic or every single little. I'm not adding it.
Right.
It's like just general things. So it's like if you do, I don't want it to become too like, I don't want to generalize the podcast too much. But I do know that having these keywords in the thing might intrigue people's interest, like especially the ones that are questions like. If you could bring back one TV show, what would it be? You know what I mean? And then there's like, so like when you're reading it, it's like there's questions in there too and things like that. But it's really just like what I can associate in my 2 to 3 minute skips throughout the podcast as to what the general topic was at that moment of the conversation.
Facts.
So,
well, what I was thinking about during when you guys were talking about all the editing stuff was we haven't gone over the Helen trip, and we mentioned it in a podcast ago.
And that's the thing, like, my honest perspective is someone's going to have to take the initiative to want to do it. Mm-hmm. On my plate right now, I see editing podcast, my album, starting my drawing notepad, starting drawing on the iPad, music videos, and then the storyboard. Those are all on my plate that I would rather do over the Helen thing.
That's fair.
Just me personally. Not that I don't think that should definitely be done. But I also view that when it is done, when we all sit down and watch it, that's going to be the reunion show vibes of us watching this from like a year ago or 2 years ago, you know what I mean? Of when we were like this and this is how we acted, or like this is how we were as a group at this point in time. Now we're where we are 2 years in, then the cringy stuff is gonna be more cringe. The old juice, the old like beef is gonna be like brought back up rehashed. Rehashed. Yeah, so it's like, or how did you grow from that? What other events happened since that beef?
Do Eddie and Bree still beef like they did?
Yeah, and that's like the start of the first that podcast episode. The first topic is Bree has beef with Eddie ? Right. Or Bree and Eddie have beef or something, and it's ? That's like the first like general.
You see the origins of where Bree and Eddie's beef began.
Yeah, and then on the other side is like we haven't had too much feedback, like except for the comments where like, oh, this is like we love the conversation, like here and there, like couple people, right? So it's like there hasn't been too much feedback in the sense negative or positive, where it's like that would force me to think that we should do anything differently. You know what I mean? Besides, the only thing I can see right now is just adding those title cards. Hopefully we don't need to use the technical difficulties thing again. Mm-hmm. And we can't use it for the next one because it doesn't come back. Or episode 21. Like, there's no video for the whole episode. We didn't get a single second. You know what I mean? But what we learned from that,
What person?
phone needs to be plugged in.
Can't believe someone did that.
You know, but now it's like, even this, it's like phones. Before you started, I heard the thing. You go, phones plugged in. Do not disturb. And Calvin says, "Are you sure?" Still, right? But it's like that moment only because of the previous moment. So what I want to do, my idea is how to what I think the easiest way to do it is to take one of the pictures of when we're all four sitting here, put it into like Pixar or whatever, and get the filter where it looks like where we're all drawn.
Mm-hmm. Well, Bree's good at that.
Okay, or Bree can do it. Yeah, if Bree wants to do that, but we need it in like a week and a half, right? So it's like, but then I want to have us drawn, and then where the phone is in the picture like this, where it's gonna be us drawn, and I want the phone in front, and it says like Eddie's phone like didn't record, like, or that wasn't recorded or wasn't plugged in or whatever you want to say in that little box. Right. So it's like the reason why there's no video for this one is because of the phone, but this is the picture for this one. This is the moment of we don't know that the phone's not recording, and we're all sitting here talking, and the phone's not recording, and that's what I want the picture to be for the whole thing. You know what I'm saying? But so me, if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do what I said, the Pixar thing, and then do it quickly. If Bree wants to get on it, and the next whatever, pick any, I don't care, any image of all the four of us sitting here.
I actually,
it could be because there's so many different ones that you could be like, you're laughing, we're all laughing. You could scream, you could pick, and there's so many different points where the visual watcher is getting something gold. And then that was funny because we talked about like it was the dryer sheet that Jason gave me in the blanket or whatever. And then when it came back, I was like, the visual watchers aren't gonna get to see because it was only on the microphone. Mm-hmm. You know, which was geek, but it was still so.
But there's I literally just Google imaged Ocean Waves podcast because it was when I was working on the technical difficulties. I wanted to like see the shirt on one of us, and so I did. And there's only one. There's one. I think Facebook. It was from Facebook of all four of us, and it was like one of the first setups we did, where Jason's in the chair and us three are here, so we're all on this wall. Mm-hmm. And I was like,
and even that's a progression within this room, right?
Yeah.
And I saved the photo because I was just like, that's dope. Like that is.
So that could be it. Yeah. Whatever it could be, so that, and then just the phone in front, just a drawn fucking, like, I want it to be a drawn iPhone. Mm-hmm. That whatever funny comment that we want to put in there, that shows that the phone was not recording.
Jason's not in that podcast. Did he come later? I don't think he was in that one.
I don't remember. Well, I'm gonna have to listen through the whole thing.
And the one where we have no video.
I don't know. The thing about, I think
that's why we had to use my
phone. Tough part is in these next few ones, like, I don't remember what we need, if there's anything that needs to get cut out. I don't remember. I know there's a bunch that needs to get cut out. So once I find that one, I'll be fine. I just don't remember what number it is. And then, but starting from last one, I have in my notes what needs to get cut. So from here on out, like, I'll be able to. So I won't. But the only reason I'm in this conundrum is because I allowed myself to be in, and now I know it. It's like whenever we're doing it now, like, it takes us out of the conversation, but it's necessary. It's necessary to know what bar of the Logic recording are we at, so that I can, and then record it, so that when I look back, like, anything needs to get edited today. No, yes, okay, boom, no. All right, what do I want to edit? You know, versus like, this shit's been out since Tuesday, and something that maybe shouldn't be in there is in there. Not like political or whatever, but like just like our surroundings, maybe someone that we name drop that we didn't want to name drop, or a place or whatever, or our locations, you know, something like just stuff to be safe, precautious. So luckily on YouTube, like in the webs of YouTube, it will always be in there, but it wasn't super bad. It was just like this town. So I was like,
it wasn't as bad as that time Jason dropped the N-word.
Don't do it like that.
Yeah, no.
Not even here to defend himself.
He didn't.
I'm just playing.
Maybe at some point in time, but
I knew I was the only
Not
one
since
that
you're
made
doing
the
the
joke.
podcast.
Not on the podcast. Definitely not since you started. The podcast. No one's had any sort of real.
No.
I think the only things that really got was we were talking about Hitler at one point, like just outlandish.
That was the first podcast.
With Bree and
Me and Bree were just going crazy.
yeah, so it was just like, and also that progression of Bree, like her first one to her second one was crazy different.
Mm-hmm.
Like she had evolved so much from just being from 1 to 2, you know. So I was like, damn, that's crazy. Like I'm sure as it keeps going, it'll be even more and more. And someone else said like, bring the girls back or whatever. Right, but in my mind it's like I don't control. Like anyone can be on. Like anyone who watches one episode and gives feedback can be on the podcast. They can come be a guest. They want to talk about fucking what they do, who they are, whatever.
I told my grandpa to come be on the podcast.
Oh yeah, that'd be lit. I would bring the podcast to your grandpa.
That'd be lit. We should definitely do that.
So next time we feel like going on like some sort of little road trip or whatever, let's go up to Philly. And we'll fucking New Jersey, and we'll bring all this stuff, and we'll do it right down in your grandpa's bar, dude.
Yeah, that'd be lit.
Smoke a J, have the first J podcast. We're smoking J's on it. That'd be lit as fuck.
So fire. You gotta come.
That'd be lit, dude. I'm definitely down.
Maybe
Shit, maybe go see a Flyers game or some shit, or
Yeah, that'd be
fucking
fire. Go see a
Phillies game. Yeah.
The next time John doesn't have the kids at bowling, he's gonna come.
Has John watched one?
You gotta tell.
I know he started one. He's
He's gotta watch one to completion
And give a summary.
and give feedback.
Yeah,
Summary
feedback,
feedback. Yeah, that's the
something like
only for now until there's become
Just
That's
so
the
you get the
standard.
premise.
Now
Yeah.
if they're I will grant exceptions to some people. Just depends on who they are and what their offer is, what they bring. What are you bringing to the table that is worth more than going to listen to a podcast and giving feedback?
I don't know what that could be right now.
And now, I mean, shit. I don't know.
Because even if Joe Rogan was like, yeah, I want to be on your
If
podcast.
Joe Rogan wants to be on the podcast, he can come on the podcast, bro.
So,
But the thing about Joe Rogan,
I feel like he would have to do it.
no, the thing about Joe Rogan though is that if he was to do it, that means he would have watched one.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So that's not really like a valid.
I was
one
about to
because
ask,
he would have done. He'll do his due diligence of looking at who these
would we
who
take a
people are.
sponsor for the podcast yet?
Depends on who they are.
Yeah.
Like
This
I'm not gonna.
episode is brought to you. No.
I'm not gonna sponsor. I'm not gonna take sponsor money just to if it's like something that's gonna be detrimental to the children. Like no,
Yeah.
but if it's something that's like aligned with me, you know what I mean? Like Joe Rogan, he does like AG1 or whatever, like athletic greens, like stuff that he's like I take this every day, and it's like, and then like Theo Vaughn will do one, and it's like some of them I can see that he's like he probably doesn't really use all the time. But it's also nothing like crazy. It's not Wendy's, right? When we talked about the spare patties.
I take a local endorsement right now over a lot of endorsements.
Well, no matter what it is, I feel like
any useful company that wants to.
That's what I would
endorse the podcast. I'm down for it.
Ideally, I'd want to like something I'm very confident in.
Who's doing the ad reads?
Reach.
You
I've asked for it so many times.
That's cool with me, dude.
Yeah. However,
I wonder if that's gonna be a thing like later on.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But we want Eddie to do it. And then we got to be like, do we stay with this sponsor? And Calvin's like, no, but they don't want me to do it. Yeah, and then it's like, we're gonna give you this much, and then he's like, I'm doing it.
I was like, you do it, you're moving out.
Yeah, you're selling out if you do it because they don't want me to do it.
You don't want me doing your sponsor. Why are you even watching the video?
Calvin's so butthurt about the hypothetical company that doesn't want him to do the ad read.
Calvin's sad.
Calvin's pissed, bro.
That's so geek, dude.
Calvin would be so mad because I'm not gonna call him racist, but I'm definitely gonna drop something. Definitely gonna hop on the X real quick and
it'd be very detrimental to single you out of all four of us. That's definitely.
That's why I have to do the ad read though, because it's the token black person confirming all sponsors.
Jason's a dad now, so you can't go out your hand, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just me and Eddie now.
Right.
That's fucking hilarious, dude.
But
yeah.
I would definitely.
No one is offering us any sponsorships at the moment.
Actually, Nike just hit us.
No, they didn't.
No
sign.
Yeah.
Would you take a Nike endorsement?
Depends on what's in the contract. But I don't know. Kyrie, they fired Kyrie, so probably not. I rock with Kyrie. Kyrie didn't do anything wrong. All Kyrie did was put up a link
Oh, I remember you talking about
to a fucking video. He didn't say anything. He didn't say good or bad about it. He was really he just exposed that you could buy this on Amazon. And then the media and everything just fucking twist him around. On top of it, he's had other things, like he's been outspoken. He was outspoken about against the vaccine, just like Aaron Rodgers and stuff like that. So you got this dude, and then they drop him from a Nike. So now he's got right before his shoe was about to come out. It was like 2 weeks before his shoe was supposed to come out. So now he's in a new company. He's got a new shoe. It looks nice. He rocks in the NBAs. Now he's got, a different. So it's like maybe not the worst thing that ever happened.
Probably a blessing in disguise.
Yeah. It's just like the way he wasn't going to quit Nike, but he got the out. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's not the worst thing. But at the same time, if you might be getting more money with the Nikes or whatever. You don't want your shoe not, even if, regardless of whatever, he might have really wanted just that shoe to come out. That shoe's never coming out. You know what I'm saying?
Facts.
So that's tough. So I probably wouldn't with Nike because just based off who they're aligning with. One thing that's funny I see a lot of the comedians have is Blue Chew.
Mm-hmm.
Blue Chew loves the comedian podcast.
Blue Chew?
Yeah, you know what Blue Chew is?
No.
It's like fucking Viagra, like chewable Viagra pretty much.
Bro, what?
And it's supposed to be. I know you've seen a commercial.
I probably have.
Apparently, it's better. Like they care more about you than Viagra does.
Mm-hmm.
Is what I'm assuming. Blue Chew's company.
They're less
morals are.
likely to accidentally kill you, according to them.
So like you won't like what's it like Viagra? Like you use too much blood or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You could like
It's supposed to
die.
I think,
but they are not sponsoring us.
I think Viagra wants you to like. I think Blue Chew just wants you to like, at a regular amount, just use their product. While Viagra is trying to get you to use it like every time, every day, you know what I mean? That's why I look at it from an outside perspective. I don't know. They could just be just as the rest of them, but I just noticed that that's a company that sponsors a lot of comedians, and a lot of them have Blue Chew. When I'm watching their podcast and then they jump to their ad rolls, it's like Blue Chew pops up. I'm like, damn, dude, Blue Chew is everywhere. They got all these guys, dude.
I saw somebody was making fun of Blue Chew ads on Reddit, and one of the because they had a couple of different like fake Blue Chew ads, and one of them was this Asian dude, and it said, "I fit in a Magnum because of Blue Chew,"
Nice.
and then it showed him like holding the swan and the.
What?
We're recording right now, Bubba.
Oh really?
You got to get going? How come? Where are you going to go? Home?
Wait, you're supposed to be in Kids World.
Go to Kids World. We'll be done in like 20 minutes.
Yeah. It's good.
But, yeah.
It's alright. He just wants to be on the podcast.
He's got plenty of.
We really should do a family
Yeah, we will.
podcast.
But at the same time, it's like,
Well, so-
I show up to every single one. No, I'm just kidding. No. At the end of the day, I was going to say.
Oh, no, it's valid.
Yeah, so I was like, so I will be there for.
We had the chance to do one without him, too, and didn't.
Facts. I was actually wondering if you would, but I
I
bet
thought
that
about
you
it.
wouldn't.
I thought about it.
No, I'm just kidding. But I was actually
I promise you I
saying
will next time.
was I was gonna tell I
I'm
was
gonna
gonna
come do it
mention to
myself,
Calvin
but-
before we started if you wanted we could have him on, but I already knew that Calvin knows that he could be on. Calvin's just deciding when does he want to put his kid in front of a camera. That is the question. So that's why in my mind it's like it's not up to me.
No, I feel that. That's why
So-
I feel like we should have the newborn baby. I'm not gonna throw the name out because I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's another thing. I wasn't gonna mention the name either. Just
The
I know that
newborn?
Carter and Amber's names are free.
Yeah.
Like we can use them.
And then
Yeah.
Amber and Carter have all three of them on at the same time.
Yeah.
That'd be lit.
I'm down to do it, but that takes the family's decision.
Takes the parents to decide.
Takes the
that,
parents'
yeah.
decision as a family to put all of us in one camera. Because at the same time, if you look at it like the Beatles, like this is a dangerous photo.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or Bob Marley and his kids. Damian Marley and Ziggy Marley, and then his grandson Damian Marley, and you got all these Marleys who are all musically talented now in the world. You know what I mean? It's like, that's a dangerous photo, like Bob Marley and his sons.
Right.
You know? So it's like, really, you have to really think about the end of the day, and I'm for each decision. I'm okay with, let's do the photo. Let's have that photo to have, like, how crazy is it, all of them were in there on this podcast, and then in 15 years, like, how everyone is moving, everyone's doing.
Right.
You know, so it's like, I'm cool with that, and I'm also cool with not doing it because respecting that they don't want until the kid wants to do or show signs that they want to be on the, you know what I mean?
We could always just take a picture and then just, have it for
Yeah,
ourselves.
we could, yeah.
Not post it.
You know, we could do one and see how, yeah, but at the end of the day, it's like, I feel like, at some point, it will be. We'll have the kids on, they'll give their kid perspectives. You know what I mean? It'll be good. So, but yeah, so I think maybe as we move to the new room, I think, like, instead of being so, like, everyone bring a topic, which not everyone does every time anyway, so it's not working. I think that strategy doesn't work, you know, but really, because Jason will always allow that strategy to implode. And then you'll think of one on the fly, so now we're in this discussion of, like, now you're looking at it like you weren't prepared or whatever, right?
It's like,
And then it's like, but then it creates more formal. So I think what we should start doing is, instead of maybe thinking so topic oriented, maybe, like, if there's something that you want to talk about, keep it in mind and then bring it up and however you want to bring it up. But maybe the title card things, the different segments, is where we should start align. Like, there's the segments to the podcast, like the comment.
Well, that's what the air cannon's gonna be.
Yeah,
because
the comments, or yeah,
that's the difference between the conversation and the topic.
Yeah, at the same time, bro, like, realistic.
That's the main reason I want.
But you also have to. The thing about the air
cannon
cannon is that you have to have already thought of the idea.
That's my point, though, because there are things throughout the week that I'll have the thought, and then, like, I'll go to say to him, and I was like, honestly, I want to hear our mentality. It's the same. Like, it feels like I'm not gonna go comment it and say, hey, y'all should talk about this when I'm on the podcast. And that's what I mean by there are times.
I mean, I definitely think it's a good idea to think about.
And a beautiful example. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. But an example of this is him instantly off rip saying, "What is this, a crossover episode?"
Yeah.
So we could get into that story and talk about.
I think that, like, it's a good idea. You know what I mean? But, like, there's no one way to do it, because if you only have the air cannon, then no spontaneous idea will ever be brought up.
Well, no.
You know what I'm saying? And then on the other side, if you do so oriented, then you're never gonna have on the other. So, but I think at the end, like, I'm really trying to get to the point where that it is a natural conversation to the fullest. And then on top of that, we add these things where it's like different segments, like, and now we're gonna jump into the comment section. Like, shout out to all you who commented. There could be 1,000 comments, then now you do all of them. But you know what I mean. Right now there's like 7 comments, so it's easy to see if there's a new one. But if there's thousands rolling in, then we're not gonna be able to do a whole whatever. But we could just mention some of them. That goes on. Then we could do, like, all right, current events, or what happened this week, like, to keep people, like, engaged in whatever. But at the same time, it's like, people, like, aren't gonna come looking at us for the news. You know, it's gonna come just to, like, hear different open perspective and things like that. So it's like, I think that in general, like, so that's why when I'm looking, it's all just self-criticism. Like, look, when I'm, like, watching, because it's like, oh, maybe we should talk about this more. But it's really just to the fact of, like, I'm trying to get away from it being like a TV program to, like, we're in the world and there's just, like, a camera dude right there just recording us. You know?
But I feel like, and that's why I said yes. But even what we were saying about how we talk about what we're doing, we're constantly breaking that aspect of, like,
and it's good because it shows it shows everything about being human and and that's why it's like, what I was saying was that it's not fully true. It's not like there's anything wrong. It's not like we do anything whatever, but it's just like, we're progressing somewhere, and what do we want to be progressing to? And then when you have like when a new listener, what do you want them to see? I think it's a little bit of both. Like I don't want to just have like right now if there's an edit, it's the screen goes and then it's wherever I edit and wherever I unedit it and I put them together. So it's just a jump. So I want to remove the jump with the with the whatever different things like that. And then that's just the editing. And then to add a little flavor, I want to do the title card or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like current event maybe pops up or like whatever. Just get that little extra sauce. You know, that's what I want that to be. So in my mind, it's like the air cannon thing. That's a good idea with the different colors. That's also a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to make the title cards first to be able to even have colors to base off. So it's like, okay, and then, then it maybe goes off and people might want to hear the more orange or whatever and things like that.
Well,
so.
and as I was saying, it kind of popped in my head. I feel like the things we add in will be our colors. So like if I want to bring a topic. Because, like I said, there are times where I'm like, ooh, I want to talk about this on the podcast. And then there are times where
I think that we should make the colors like that we have right now is whatever, but that's just aligning
and then we
to the four. There is more in there. What I'm saying is like we're limiting ourselves to 4 colors. You know what I'm saying? By having that's what I visualize is the sense of we should accompany a color to a certain aspect of conversation.
And that's what.
So like. For instance, like say like green is the heart chakra. It goes with love or whatever. So maybe more love topics stuff like that would be green or whatever. And then maybe like war and stuff that's a red topic. So then we put those type of topics in the red or whatever. So then when the shit shoots out, you might subconsciously want to talk about this. So you go reach for that one or whatever. You know what I mean? So in that sense, just an idea.
Well, and I have what I want because there's 2 aspects to the color thing too. It's not only like the color you can put on it, but the color it can be. So if we're using like red paper for controversial topics, if we're using, and so that way, because I love that concept of like being able to like, I know what I want to try to grab today, And then you can kind of sway the conversation in that sense where if I feel like being controversial, I'm going for red today.
Because I think the one thing, if you lock in like, something that I would bring up, it just feels like we're all different and we're all similar. So it's like we're all going to naturally bring up something that the other person is going to be, like you might bring something up because I'm going to talk about it in a certain light or whatever, or vice versa. You know what I'm saying? So I think that maybe it just makes it a little too like I don't view us as 4 separate.
But it's not ones that we feel like, oh, this would be. No, if I put a specific topic in there. So let's say But
also I don't really think because then what if because someone like Jason's gonna put 2 topics in there, then it's just like a bunch of green ones. It doesn't look cool when a bunch of green pops up. But when yellow, orange, blue, purple.
So you have the colors
black,
for the other
brown,
topics, right? So
white.
like we said, red's violence, brown, like all.
I
these
think that
other
the we should associate colors to different aspects.
Yeah, but
of the conversation.
I think our colors should be our topics. That's all I'm saying. That way, if I had something that I want to talk about, and not in the sense of like.
Then you bring it up.
Yeah,
that's how I feel. That's the point of the whole thing that I'm talking about with the thing where it's like you shouldn't have to wait till you grab a piece of paper to bring something up.
There
and then you shouldn't have to sit and wait and say like I've been waiting all day for my point on the podcast to be able to bring up a topic and it's going to be this. I want it to be like,
those are 2
hey, I was
processes.
thinking about this.
Why can't those be 2 different thought processes? Because like I said, there are times where I'm sitting, I think of something, I say it. There are times where I came in and I want to like.
I just think it's a little. I think it's a little narcissistic to want to have all like it be known which idea was yours and whatever.
Well, no,
that's how I feel. For the sake of where it's like I want all my ideas to be known that this green one was a Calvin idea and they shoot up like that. I want
to know that it's my idea.
That's why you bring it up. You is your idea. You bring it up like if it comes from your mouth and you say, "Hey, I wanted to bring this up. I wanted to talk. I wanted to let's whatever." That is when someone sits and watches it. It's like, oh, this is what Calvin is bringing up. This is what he's talking about. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 2 points. Right?
The thing I think about the air cannon is that the point is for it to be like a random, like a thought cloud just shoots up.
So why can't I add my thought to that cloud?
You can add your thoughts, but it's like, but why does it need to be? My point is, why do you have to be? Why do you have to get credit for like what is so important to get? It is.
It's not credit. It's because when we do.
Eddie, can we get your opinion?
I'm not listening to what he has to say.
My 2 points, right? I want to say these first. The first one is, like I said, these are going to be the things that, because there have been times where I'm like, oh, I would comment this if I wasn't a part of it. And so that thought process.
So create a fake YouTube account and comment.
I mean, I could, but I could just as easily. We're going to be pulling some of these topics out of comments. That's my point. And so if I want to throw my bid in the hat, because it's not something that I feel inclined to just bring up, but there are times where I have.
You grab a piece of paper and you write it down. And then when his brother's like, oh, I wrote that. Or you know what I'm saying?
But if it's a thought that I want to try to pull for the day, then my
opinion is that you should just bring it up. If there is a day that you feel like we should talk about this, it shouldn't be on a piece of paper flying through the air. It should be you just naturally bring it up.
My point is why aren't those two different things to you? Because those are two different things to me. There are the things I just bring up because I'm going to bring them up. There are the things I'm going to talk about because I have my voice. I'm going to say this I want to say.
Yeah.
But there are also the things where I'm like, oh, this would make for a decent topic. Or, oh, I feel like this would make for a decent conversation. But I don't always love bringing those things because that's more like me thinking in a production aspect. I don't want to bring the things where I'm like, oh, I'd want us on the podcast to talk about this because I think it'd be good for the podcast. I want to bring my organic thought processes, and while I'm sitting here in this chair.
Okay, yeah. So you write it down. It gets written down on a piece of paper and it gets shot in the air. But my point is that what is driving you so much that it needs to be like you just said that you were the one who brought it up. Otherwise, you would go comment on the. You would make the extra.
Mine. But if I see you put something, especially now that we're having this conversation.
Yeah, but if you want it to be floating in the air, where it's just a comment, like and it's whenever you decide to grab it, you know what I'm saying? Then it's like, okay, when it shoots up, it doesn't matter what the color is. If you wrote it on, like, say, like it was like a war top and it's red, then you're gonna go grab a red one or whatever.
I think. Sorry to interrupt you.
It's all right, but just having them all show up and it's like, okay, these are all my ideas. In my mind, if you're gonna just shoot up and go grab all your ideas, you should just have You should have your own little thing of ideas, and you before the thing starts, you just grab an idea because this is your little pocket.
Okay, then don't add one. That's my point. It's that simple. Because there are going to be times where and I'm not even saying, like, my point here is that it's still going to be red, but I'm going to put my green writing on the red. Just as a little fun thing. Just as the same way as if I see a comment underneath our post and I want to put it on a thing and put it in there, I'm going to tag the commenter. I'm going to be like, oh, this was a question asked. That way when we pull it and when I'm talking about it, it's like, oh, this person asked us, da-da-da-da. If you see green writing, Calbeeno asked us, blah, blah, blah. Because I still have my voice that I want to throw in the hat. Because I said this on a podcast earlier. I very much so consume our content as nothing but as a fan. Because that's where I started. And so even the things I'm on, the things I'm doing, the verses I'm doing, I remove as much biasness as I can and sit there and look at it as a fan. And as somebody who literally has fanned over podcasts and table talks, SourceFed Table Talk is somebody I will happily fly out. They don't do it anymore, or they don't do SourceFed Nerd anymore. I'm pretty sure SourceFed isn't around anymore either. But they were a side YouTube channel on Discovery, and they got me through so much, especially their Table Talk. And I remember on their Table Talk, they had a hat. And the canon thing came from that. From when I was sitting there, I was like, oh, there should be a day where they just shoot them all out. And then now that I'm here as a fan sitting here watching ours, the same way I went and commented that on theirs, I would comment it on ours. And so that's what I mean by there are times where I'm fangirling over the show and I'm like, ooh, what if we talked about this? Those are the things I'm going to throw in there. Because I feel like it's principle. Because yes, as much as I'm in this for being the creator, I am also equally in this for being the consumer. And that's why I said I make sure that I'm paying attention. That's why I jump around when I'm watching our podcast, because I know every podcast I've ever watched all the way through, I miss something unless I go back and I'm rewatching them. And so that's where I'm coming from. By I want to be able to see that was mine as a fan. In the same way, I want y'all, when you write a comment and when you ask a question, when we bring you up, like, give us a way to shoot you out.
So I think the solution here is I agree with Ryan in the sense of, like, if you want a certain topic said, you should just bring it up.
Let
me finish this. You should just bring it up, right? But if you want the idea of, like, all right, we can have our topics also that we want to have talk as a podcast rather than, like, as your individual self, then we should just have a category that we write our own inserts into rather than basing it off a topic.
See,
so it's
but
like, this is the ocean on arrival category, right?
My point is, though, I want them to have the same chance at that as we do. That's why I want the cannon or the hat or the whatever.
Well, they do have that same chance. They just can't get in this one category of all.
But that is the entirety of the podcast. And like we said, if they want to add those things,
this is my point,
into that category, they can come on.
If you write something on a piece of paper, I'm going to know if it's your handwriting, if it's Jason's handwriting, you know what I'm saying? So I agree if you want to put a comment on the thing where it's like, okay, this person wrote it. Okay, shout out to them. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Whatever. Okay, I wrote this one. Oh, this is one of my topics. Okay, whatever. But my point is, like, the color, like, okay, whatever color you write it in, fine, whatever. But at the end of the day, like, when you grab them, we're going to grab them. We're going to be like, we're going to read them. Mm-hmm. So color, if I'm looking at the color, like, they either should just be colored so that it looks cool when they shoot it out, or they should be colored based off what energy is this conversation. Yeah. And then from there, you go and you grab. So, yeah, if you grab anything, you can be like, yeah, so in my mind, it's like, but when you first brought up color, like, it just sounded like you were trying to say, like, okay, I want all the green pieces of paper to be known that this is Beano who wrote that. And I'm like, dude, that is so narcissistic to be like, all these are mine. I would put a green
dot on my red paper because the color of paper is going to match the conversation like we've talked about several times. And that's the reason I kept saying, I was like, why are we not? Yeah. I would literally just take our little dot stickers, the little ones that have the different colors. I would literally just stick one of those on there. Because if it's a day where I'm like, oh, that's one of Eddie's, while I see it up there, I might try to snag one of Eddie's. Because I saw the little.
But I think that eliminates the randomness.
A little bit, but it's also the sense of, because then that's what plays into the later on. Like, if you do come on a podcast and you do add your own, whatever color you get while you're on the podcast, I'll put a dot on it. And then maybe one day if I want to, like, specifically, because there might be times where, yes, I still want it in the random pot, but I want this one talked about more. And there's also going to be times where I'm going to add a note in there and I'm not even going to sign it as me. It all depends on the level of thought. I just thought it'd be a cool little token if, like, while you're going, because I also know as a fan, if I'm seeing it, like, I'm going to be looking for the dots too.
I think you'll have to see how it shoots in theory.
I'm just going to revert to my first point. It's a grand idea, but until I see something that shoots papers out. So in my mind, it's like, what's more feasible? Like, this cannon or a title card? Both. You know what I mean? The title card can be made extremely way more faster than this cannon. Because, one, we have to find out if the cannon exists. Is there something that exists that we can buy? Two, if not, how do we build it? And then three, if we can buy it, how much money does it cost? And then how much paper can it shoot and all that. So, yeah, so you're going to build it. But at the same time, like, building a mechanical device or drawing out a title card.
Why wouldn't I do both?
I'm not saying you can't do both. My question was, what's more feasible? I'm going to do both. That's not my question.
They are equally feasible in my brain. That's what I'm telling you, because it's a matter of principle. It's a matter of dedication. I said this coming into this. I already have the blueprint for it, because I literally just need to shoot air. If I go get a bike pump that pushes air, I can funnel it, put the topics in there, bang. Like, it's not a hard concept. It's just air shooting out paper. And the rough draft, just like the first rough draft on that, might look funny, but I'm going to keep working on it. Life is principle. my principles right now are, what am I, like I mentioned on either the last one or the one before, like I finally have my to-do list and my priorities. And so that's why, like, I know my deadlines on things now. And I used to be a big person on just, I'll wait till it pops back up and then I'll get it done. No, I know I have till this long. And I was going to mention this earlier too, and then I forgot about it till now. I did mention it about how, like, every time I'm just sitting around, it's one of those things. That's how I came up with the general concept, or the general blueprint for, well, if I did this, because I've done this for a different type of thing, it should also work for this. So now when I test it, if it works, bet. If it doesn't work, okay, now I might have to push it. Right now, that's what I want to bring for 30. I said 30 was going to be my episode to bring something. And so I only have 5 weeks. And that's why it's so prevalent. That's why I'm so animated and so passionate about it. That's why it matters to me, because I know I only have 5 weeks. I have my deadline. It's important to me. I'm going to get it done. That way, at least once, at least on episode 30, we use it. Whatever topics go into it, cool. Whatever don't. If we make them all, or if we're walking around and just like, hey, what's something you think's interesting? And just asking people. Random people we know, whatever. Because at the end of the day, where it feels like, to me, my perception of where you're coming from is, like you said, that post-production. You're thinking very like, all right, this is business. And like I said, I'm thinking like a fan. And so I'm
thinking that if you sat down, if you started right now, 2 Calvins, both the same exact you, and whatever situations you'd be in, you'd make the same decisions. If you sat down, you would have a title card faster than you would have this air cannon, which makes it more feasible to do a title card. That's just my only.
Just first, though.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So for now, like, that's just like so the way I'm looking at it is like, we will be able to get these. We will be able to get the podcast with the production of having the title cards and everything embedded before we have the final product of this cannon. That's not just the air pump up from a bicycle that we just went and built real quick just to say that I could do it in time. You know what I'm saying?
Not even
versus like
quick,
you have
I've been thinking about this since episode what?
I know you've been thinking. I understand you've been thinking about
working
it.
On this
all I'm saying is that the question I asked was what was more. I understand in your mind, like the understanding of I can attain both these things. I agree. But what I disagree with was the end goal, what you see when I say technical difficulties, title card, what you see there versus when you see cannon, like air cannon, like I know that the visualization is like the product is going to look good too and function. So in my mind, it's like, okay, yes, that's going to take whatever time it takes. There's going to be progressions in it. And when it's done, it's going to be a great idea and a beautiful thing. I 100% agree, and I don't discredit anything that you can do that says you can't do that and you can't create this idea, because we already have an idea that I know we're going to build at some point. Never spoke about it once. Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay, but I know that your brain can comprehend what I'm thinking about, and you know that I can comprehend it. And without even speaking about it, we can comprehend what we're trying to get. But we both know that right now is not the time to do it. Mm. We don't know the people. We don't have the materials. And we could start, but it's not. We need an actual factory place or whatever, or people that's what they do. They just build this shit. And it's like, okay, fine. So it's like in my mind, it's like, okay, so for the steps of progression, like in the next, like before we even get to 30, when we get to 28, maybe we have now where it's like we're throwing in a current event in, or we're throwing in this, and then we throw these cards. We're starting to think about what colors or what conversation. We start doing that. Mm-hmm. That is more feasible for now, where it's like now these are more implemented. So by the time we get to the canon shit, we're not on this level of the editing. We're on this level. So that's where my mind is like, okay, yes, like we all have different ideas and whatever. Like I want to do the storyboard thing for the movie, and it's like, okay, like that's gonna take time and whatever. Doesn't mean you don't work on it. Doesn't mean you don't try to achieve it. But I know that it's more feasible for me to edit these podcasts and get caught up than it is for me to sit down and get my full storyboard. because the amount of time it's going to take from getting my storyboard is I can do so much other stuff to just get it done and get out of my plate. So now I can spend more time on this thing and really lock in on it. So that's where the question, it's like, okay, yes, like we have all these great ideas, like we want these things to happen and I want the things, whatever, but also what's the still the balance of what's the rush and why wait? What's the rush of getting the podcast to that next level when it's like we still might need another 25 to talk about the baseline things or this and that, because once we get to that level, it's going to evolve. The podcast is going to evolve from where it is now. So it's like it doesn't need to be this amazing production with the person behind the camera or whatever, but at the same time, when we do have that thing, we're going to probably want more angles of the shit flying and all of us like, whoa, or like, and a guest comes on, you get the guest reaction, you know what I mean? So we're going to want these things that it's like, even if we had the perfect canon right now, we wouldn't be ready. We wouldn't have the topics ready. We wouldn't have the colors line. We wouldn't even know. We'd have to figure out what colors or what conversation, whatever. We don't have enough people comments to have even someone shout out though, whatever. You know what I'm saying?
But that is my gauntlet for the next 5 weeks, and that's why I said I get your point of why is it important. It's important because it's important to me.
It doesn't. Yeah, it's obvious. But at the same time, it's just like it's basically like the way I'm looking at it is like, okay, what's the point of making like music videos without having the songs done? You know what I'm saying? That's my point. Like, the technical difficulty isn't done yet. I mean, it got done to the point of where it's at or whatever, but that idea isn't fully done yet, in the sense of like, and then there's these other ideas where it's like eventually these ideas are going to get glossed over and whatever if we don't attend to them, if we don't tend to these fires. Yeah, but you know what I'm saying? So it's like, I agree, okay, you might want this canon or whatever, you know, and you might want to show that I can build this thing, right? Okay, I agree. Like, you can spend the next 5 weeks and you build, and it's perfect, the paint's perfect, everything's perfect about it or whatever, but still there's not enough comments to have other people add their stuff. I don't have enough things where I've sat down to even be like, okay, let me put all these in there, because whenever I think of an idea, I just bring it up, I just say it. So it's like, okay, now that idea is talked about, we have to wait a certain amount of time for us to rehash the idea, or like even if it's a week or 2 weeks or whatever, we have to wait a little bit so that we can
see. But what I want, and I'll go ahead and say it if I get, because we're already talking blueprints. What I want to do for episode 30 specifically is I want to go back through like your notes on what we're talking about and those blips, and I want to fill it with those. And so like we're all grabbing something we've already covered in the last 30, and we're rehashing it.
You know what
by design. But that's what I want to do for episode 30 specifically. Whenever we use it next is whenever we use it for whatever, and hopefully we're getting to the point we're talking about now. But it's the beginning. What do you want to do, Ed?
I want to do another animal tier list. So bad.
Well, that can be one of the things you throw in there.
That's gonna take a minute.
1,000%.
An hour and a half, and we fast forward the last 45 minutes of it.
And it all depends on what gets grabbed, because it also is a thing of like, there might be a day where we do the canon, we all grab 4 topics, and we all say nah, and then we cut to a different segment instead, or not even cut to, but we just talk about something different. There might be a day where we get completely sidetracked and we're holding our topics the entire time. But in the same sense of like you were saying about transitioning better and like just having that more organic flow in the conversation, I love personally the aspect in podcasts of the just random, here's almost an icebreaker bowl at the party, you know? Because not even the sense of when they need it, but just the aspect of using it. Because it brings something. The
word icebreaker makes me feel like we should start every podcast with like an icebreaker game.
But I mean, we could definitely start the ones we're feeling it. But that's my point. I'm like, we're not gonna use the canon every podcast. We're not. I don't plan on it because it is a niche thing, but I want to have the capability. In the same sense of, like, I don't plan on ever being done with the any of the title cards. I'm always going to be working on them. I'm always going to be, because that's why I really am like trying to bring myself to gather my strength to truly dive into animation. Because if I can do that, then all these pictures I'm seeing and talking about move. Every single one of them move, and I know exactly how I want them to move, and I sit there and I sketch out how I want them to move. And that's the reason, like, the version we have up isn't even the last version I have in my thing. I just saved that version because I was like, this is what I want first. This was the first one I looked at and I said, that's dope. And so when the first air cannon I have in my hands, I'm like, this is dope. That's going to be the one on 30. And I'm going to keep working on it, even if I get it before next week. Because that's what I mean by I finally have my priorities. I finally have my to-do list. Because I also know, like, there are going to be more days where I'm just going to come over here and I'm going to hop in the studio. I'm going to do what I have to do. I've been doing that too. I haven't felt inspired any of these days to do it, to work on music. I've been freestyling. That's what I felt recently. Not working on production, but sharpening before I go cut. And so in my brain, like you said, these are the things on your plate. Well, I dropped music off my plate for now because I just wasn't feeling that flavor in this moment of my life. And I am feeling these little side things on the podcast, and that's why I keep working on these little side things, and I want to do the little side things. Because like you said, Bree could not only do a better one than me, but she could do it way faster. She could have had a final product by now. But I have my vision for what I want it to be, and I have my contribution that I want to contribute. So even if she draws it with me sitting there, oh, do this, do that, I want it out of my hands. Because I feel like I want it. I want that thing. I want the air cannon. I want the title cards. I want all these things. And I'm constantly working on all of them. Because I've also found it's the whole thing about idle hands. Like, I'm doing my absolute best. And this weekend I've been, because it's just been me and the little one, because wifey's on vacay. And so me and him have just been, like, chilling this weekend. And so far this weekend. And I've just, like, enjoyed the time I've had to just kind of play and do nothingness with him. But even then, I'm still in the back of my mind like, all right, cool. When I hop back on the iPad, this is what I'm going to do to this. Because I'm almost done with version 2. Well, I would say version 1.5. And then version 2 is going to be the one that starts the concept of movement. And I have a whole story that I want these title cards to be. And it's not even a matter of, like, and that's the reason I responded with what I responded when you're like, hey, go ahead and send it to me. Because I'm just trying not to get ahead of myself with each thing individually. Yeah, I'm taking on a lot, but it's also because I am, like, I can handle the section. I can handle the party and the tables. I'm just on it today in the season of my life and the sense of handling a whole bunch. And I've got a whole lot on me, and a whole lot's been going wrong. And it just hasn't fazed me because I've decided to take on all these things and spread all of these nasty things that are happening to me and around me to all of the things I'm working on. And that's what's powering me to check. That's why I wrote my list. I have a literal list of everything that anytime I'm like, oh, I should do this, I try to put it on the list. No matter how big, no matter how small. Because at the end of the day, I have easily doubled my production across the board because of my list so far. Even down to, like, how genuinely close I feel I am to just completely quitting nicotine. Because that has been a year's worth of struggle. Several years worth of struggle for me. And so to finally be at the point where I feel my brain crave the zero nicotine vape over the regular vape is awesome for me. And that was a big fight. That principles. And that's why I keep saying, that's why I was looking at you and I was like, I see all of the above. I see you as correct as I see me correct. And that's why my focus went to the title card to make sure I was happy with the rough, or not even the rough draft, with the first version. because I am happy with that first version that we have. I am also happy with the versions I'm going to. And so it is, the to-do list has everything on it, but the scaling of each thing changes depending on that deadline. Because I've realized I've begun to comprehend the importance of the deadline. Not even in the sense of a short deadline or a long deadline. The duration does not matter. But like you were talking about earlier, having the deadline completely changes the script. So there are also things that I don't want to put a deadline on because I want it to be like the music. If I'm not feeling the flavor, I don't want to rush it because I don't want it to be something I'm scarfing down and trying to keep down as opposed to something I sat there and enjoyed every bite from. Right now, I'm enjoying every bite from all of the projects. I'm going to make sure I finish my plates. Feel me? Thanks for coming to my
Respect.
wave.
I think
This tag's going to be Calvin rant about BS for while his child screams in background.
I think my goal for the next couple weeks is probably going to be to come here and look at some of the footage for the Helen trip.
Respect that. Because you have been thinking about that a lot recently,
Yeah.
too.
I've been watching the dramas also, so I feel like I'll be right in the right mindset
Yeah,
to
it's
really
good.
edit into a TV show.
It's been binging.
Yeah.
This is weird. I don't even think we talked about how we're doing this one earlier
Yeah, we
than we
did.
typically do it.
I feel way more tired than I normally do in
Right?
a podcast.
Well,
And I was just
we had to
thinking.
move it because the baby came.
Yeah.
And then
How
I was
the
tired
audacity.
last I don't know.
But yeah, I still feel like we're like the timing of the podcast should be the time that it is outside. You know what I mean? Like my body's so confused right now.
Yeah, well, it's also because like what's like 7:30 right now or something like that.
It's 8.
8. Okay, I was pretty close.
Yeah.
We probably started like an hour and 20 minutes ago. Be my guess. You can check me in the YouTube comments. I have no idea. We normally start at like what 11 p.m. So we're 3 hours ahead of schedule, and I feel way more tired now than I do at 1 o'clock when we're normally wrapping up. It's weird.
Yep. Well, we filmed in California. Pretty much 3 hours.
Oh yeah.
Filming
Except
in California.
If we were
on
in
this one.
California, we would have to be in California.
Obvious.
Yeah. At 8 o'clock.
You had a current event, Eddie? So?
Current events. How about this weather we're having? How about that current event? I don't know. I thought we didn't really talk about the Super Bowl too much last week, did we? I was pretty disappointed that the Chiefs lost or won. I wanted to see the 49ers win.
Yeah. The NFL, man. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. had a presidential commercial.
Yeah.
He's the only one. So that was dope. Respect him.
Kennedy,
He should be the president.
Kennedy.
Honestly. So. Will he? Probably not. It's because
It's probably
the amount of
Trump.
backing that the money that's in the the Democratic Party and shit. Like $2 billion versus like a random person trying to. How you gonna get $2 billion, bro?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that's tough. But he should really be it.
You know what's crazy is like that $2 billion for like not all of it obviously, but I feel like a lot of it's like taxpayer money.
The only chance he has is if people go listen to his like Joe Rogan, Theo Von, Tim Dillon. I'm sure he's done a couple other ones. His podcasts. It's the only way. You sit down, you listen to him for 2.5 hours, 2 hours, 3 hours. You just listen to what he has to say. It's the only way he's gonna win. Other than that, it's just gonna be, he's gonna give it a good try. Then we're gonna get Biden or Trump or whatever they feel like. I don't know.
Who they're trying to manipulate for the next presidency.
We'll see what happens. At the end of the day, as long as it's not Biden, we'll be all right.
I feel like,
But
I just don't think you could be, because I would not question, like even hesitate to vote for a presidential candidate who strapped himself up to a lie detector and invited anybody they wanted to ask him questions. Like, I don't think there's too many people on this planet that would be comfortable with that.
RFK would do it. He had a lot about. His uncle got murdered.
Should ask
His
him.
dad got murdered.
Dial him up.
He spent the last 40 years suing environmental companies, vaccine companies.
But anybody want to
Tyson.
ask you any question.
I feel like lie detectors aren't always 100% accurate,
They're not.
and so
They also they work best off of yes or no. Like, it can only be yes or no questions, but still, that's my point. Like, if a candidate were to be like live stream themselves on a lie detector with whoever witnesses they wanted in there, like, you know what I mean, and were to just be like, look, I'm an open book. What do y'all want to know? And start taking questions. Like, that would be dope. I just don't understand. I think that's really what I'm trying to get at. What if I was running for president? I would definitely give the opportunity to actually just talk to anybody. Like, not go out and talk to people, but I would definitely be like, yo, here's my ask.com link. Like send in, and whenever I'm just chilling.
This is what they do. They go out and they go talk to people who have money.
Yeah.
So why would you talk to the dude who can't give shit to your campaign? And meanwhile,
Because that's how you win.
Yeah.
Long scheme of things.
win. You win and the people lose. Because the people who fucking matter are the people who are actually just normal people, just people living in the middle class, lower class of society.
Exactly.
The people who just have money, like they don't. The reason why they probably have so much money is because they do something that's not in the best interest of humanity. You know, so you get all these people fighting for a skewed view of humanity to donate to their cause, and whoever gets the most money, you know, has the most power to make commercials or run rallies or
get their name down.
yeah, get their name where when someone walks up, they're like, oh yeah. But no one's gonna debate art. They're not gonna let Biden debate. And Trump's perspective is why I don't need to debate. I'm the GOAT already. Like, no one wants to debate this dude for like 15 years. Why? He wrote a whole book about like Dr. Fauci and all the shit that he's done and all this stuff and all these companies with these putting like mercury in the vaccines and so much all this shit, and he hasn't gotten sued once. Why? If it was a bunch of lies, you'd sue if you were whatever company. If I'm fucking Nike, if I'm Nike and someone talks shit because you fired Kyrie and you didn't, he quit, then you would go sue the person for saying whatever. You know what I mean?
Facts.
So they're not suing him. They're not. So at the end of the day, it's like he's telling truth. And if you look at his fucking family lineage, his uncle told the world that there's a plan to enslave every man, woman, and child in this country. And by the end of his presidency, he plans to expose it. Fires the CIA people, tries to dismantle that, and then what happens? He gets assassinated. Then his brother, so now his dad, is running, wins the primary, and dies the next fucking day. So, but the thing about it is his family. Like, there's people in his family that are in the Biden administration. So it's a funny family because you're so split on the thing.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, his dad and his uncle got murdered because they tried to do something better for the country. That wasn't what, like, there's like 3 companies that own everything, and right now what they're trying to do is buy every single family home in America. So that everyone pays rent, no one owns anything.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like and then we were talking about like, and then you can't, if you don't own your house, you can't put your house as collateral. You can't, you know what I mean? And then, so back in the day, like 20 years ago, you could like, you'd be like 20 whatever, and you'd be thinking about how do I actually buy this house? And then now it's like you're almost doomed to buy a house, like unless you get some sort of help or whatever. You're not gonna own the house. And it's like removing ownership of things from the people and putting them into big corporations who then influence politics or whatever. And then it's like, then you got like the health, like people like the body crisis, the health, you know, and that's all run by one company. And then you got companies battling, and it's like they're talking shit about this company, and both of them are owned by the other company. And it's just like all this back and forth. All at the end of the day, everything that's happening is funneling money back to these people. It's like the military complex. All the, if it's going to all that. So all the money, like there's billions and billions and billions of dollars they're sending to another country, and there's fucking people who are homeless in this country. Mm-hmm. There's people who can't afford this. There's literally buildings in every city that are abandoned, run down, could be built up, could become little apartment complexes, 2-year things. You don't pay rent, but you can only live here for 2 years. You decide how you use it. You know, so many different things, and it's like, and yet we're still using like oil for gas. There's been like 3 people who've invented cars that run on water, and they all died. So it's like, okay, now there's no true innovators. It's all.
I was just thinking about that too, because in Archer, I watched a lot of Archer today, and there's an episode where Lana, who's the main character's dad, almost gets shot by the CIA at that, because he found an algae whose only byproduct when you burn it is water. So he was able to turn it into fuel. And it was like ever producing, and I was just like, when they hit the algae button, when I really paid attention to it today, I was just like, damn, like who know, like it is, in my opinion, more likely that whoever came up with that idea and pitched it to the show heard something about it already existing. The whole concept, like nothing new under the sun.
Right.
Like that exists. There's an algae that probably does that. And like you said, whoever did it died.
Yeah, definitely. So it's like they literally showed in COVID, like they literally pushed a fucking vaccine that was not
finished.
That was not good for people. And why? Because you make money off of it. Right now, like the all-cause mortality rate is up like 40%. You got kids fucking having heart attacks, like, and then they're still pushing it. You still got fucking Travis Kelce's bitch ass on the commercial. Like that dude did not take it, bro, and he's on the commercial, bro. Get the fuck out of here, man. So it's like, if any, like, there's none of these things they're not here to fucking help you, bro. They're not here to, like, they don't want you. They want you to work hard, you know, make more children, and then make money for the system all day. And it's always been like that for the longest time now. So at the end of the day, it's like, in my mind, like, you got, like, okay, if Trump wins, we'll probably have less taxes. We'll probably have cheaper gas again. I don't know how people are going to react, because the first time he was in, it would be different this time. But at the end of the day, like, this dude, RFK, has been suing pharmaceutical companies, the big corporates, for 40 years. He started as an environmentalist, so he's been suing people who have been polluting all the waterways. He has, like, a company that they patrol water, and if they catch people polluting, they go sue him. Like, this dude has been, like, all he's done is do things that are better for humanity. He's trying to drop the mortgage rate to 3%.
Buy the book too, all the lawsuits. That's what I was. Every time you said to, I was like, dang, because it's not like he's out here trying to vigilante. Like, he's using the system.
Yeah, he's a lawyer. He's literally, like, he does cases. He's done so much, and at this point, like he knows that if he runs, like, he knows that his dad and his uncle got murdered. Yeah, he's still gonna do it. He's still gonna be like, you know what? I'm gonna try to do this thing. And I haven't heard anyone else remotely close to actually having good ideals as him. He's talking about, he's not against vaccines, but against vaccines that haven't been fully tested, fully worked out. There's obviously some good ones out there. Dropping rent or mortgage to 3%, so people can actually start buying their houses. And then another thing you have to do is you have to remove money out of politics. That's a way farther goal, but
that's gonna be almost impossible.
yeah, almost. But that's the whole thing. Like, and in 2008 they threw out a 100-year law that said you couldn't endorse political campaigns. And then so for the past 12, 20, 14 years, or 15, 16, now you can. So the last 4 elections have all been run based off this new thing where you can just funnel billions of dollars from God knows where.
Donations and whatever, right?
And then you got fucking, like, the person who owns the gym also owns Wendy's. It's a never-ending cycle. Go to Wendy's, go to the gym. Pay money here, you pay money here. You get taxed here, you get taxed here. You go to work, you get taxed. Every single way you go. And you can't even choose where your taxes go. You can get taxed fucking 25% of your shit, and then it all goes to fucking God knows where in Ukraine to create another military complex over there. And it's like, bro, how many countries are we in? And we have some sort of effect. Like, you know, you got, like, Asian people coming in. You got all these people coming from different countries, but, like, they're not, like, the community isn't, like, you know, you might have Chinatown, but they still follow the same laws as every other county. You got to pay taxes, you got to do whatever. But it's Chinatown. You go into these other countries and you're fucking trying to implement your own fucking mentalities, and some of them are good. But at the end of the day, you look at the country is not in, like, a great standing. You got homelessness problem, and you got people addicted to God knows what at this point.
I just want to know why is it such a struggle to pay teachers?
Exactly.
Unless you don't,
because you don't want
teachers.
You don't want people to actually know. They want people to know how to work. By the time you're done school, you know how to sit in place for fucking 6.5 hours. You know how to ask to go to the bathroom. You know how to ask to do this. You know how to accept the little choices. Both these choices suck, but you still got to choose. Do I take the math that says that you learn about this, or do I take the math that you learn about this? You still got to learn you don't get to go to film class. You don't get to go to whatever and learn all these things. It's literally like and then you get a couple little things like photo and gym and chorus, a couple little exterior things, but nothing where it's like all like you learn Photoshop, then you learn Adobe, then you know what I mean, you learn Premiere, you start whatever, you learn how to record every instrument if you want to do that. You learn how to be behind the camera. You learn how to do this. You learn how to go out and, like, take pictures of birds if that's what you want to do. All these different things. But, yeah, and then through the teachers, I literally went to college. I watched kids fail at what they were trying to do and decide that, I'll just be a teacher. And I'm like, I'm looking at this, I would not want you to teach my child. I will do way better teaching my child than you would. You know, and I'm like, this is how this is coming. And then you got whatever. Then you got miserable people who are not really supposed to be around kids like that, teaching something that they don't want to teach, whatever, and it's this built thing. And then it just cycles and cycles and cycles. I think it was 17, I was talking about how one of these days the kids are going to come and say that I'm, like, this race or I'm that. And you're going to be like, what? For the past how many years of your life, we're just people, you know, you're my dad, that's it, you know, here's Eddie, here's Ryan, and then one day, like, even now, he's starting with the black horse and the white horse, but he doesn't know the significance, like, of the societal significance that it gets put on you, where it's like, by the time you're 16, you've been taught about fucking Christopher Columbus and this and that. You watch the NBA, you see Black Lives Matter on the court, blah blah blah. So now you're in your day to day, you're embedded in this thing where when you were 2, you were never thinking about that at all. That was not crossing your mind. And it's like eventually these kids get thrown into this, and then now as a parent, you have to decide how to deal with it. If you're a black parent, you have to be like, okay, these are certain things that happen, or blah blah blah. And if you're a white parent, you have to be like, okay, this is what happens to other people or whatever. And you have to give both whatever. But at the end of the day, when I wake up in the morning, I don't think of racism as something that's real. You go on Instagram, you find it. It just finds you. Mm-hmm. This, that. And now you have to battle these thoughts. And then you might get clipped in a conversation saying something, and then they clip that and they throw. Then you got to battle this whole fucking storm when it's like all of it is created. If you go, I think the analogy I used was a Gatorade. Like if you go walk into the store and you see the ad for the Gatorade, you might buy a Gatorade, or you might be inclined and you might go, oh, Gatorade's bad, you go fight or whatever. But I just wanted to drink some water.
And I feel like a lot of people mistake a certain type of person for a certain group of people. And that really is at the end of it. Because obviously there's something about a person that you're not liking if you're a racist. Racism is a biasness through hatred. So there's something you don't like that another human being is capable of. Period. Does not matter what the human being looked like. That is irrelevant. Even if the thing is something about their physical appearance.
Yeah.
Like
you have to peel the layer.
If I was just like, anybody that has 8 chins is disgusting. Like, not even down. I mean, like 8 chin bones, jaw bones.
But you have to,
right.
At that point, you have to go through the next layer of why do you,
yeah.
Like, why do I hate this thing? You know what I mean?
See, but
why do I not like this
people
thing?
don't get past that because for a lot of these people, I will say, in my opinion, for a lot of these people, it is a matter of, it's not me. It's not a me problem. Because if you're not focusing on a problem within you, you're not going to notice it's your problem. I just watched this dude that was talking about when he's interviewing somebody, and they're like, oh, yeah, the last 3 bosses I had were all total dickheads. Like, I don't think that's your boss's problem.
Yeah, but then it's just like if you're a kid and you spend every week in church and your parents are like very religious or whatever, and like you're going to be more susceptible to believe in the Jesus story or whatever to a person who's never spent a day in church. They're going to be more susceptible to be like, they're going to have, it's easier for them to look at the outside perspective because you haven't been in it for.
See, funnily enough, I disagree. And I disagree for 2 main reasons. One, my grandfather was a minister. He was an amazing pastor. And growing up, I was just like, all right, well, I see what it does for you. I get it. Like, I'm completely with it. I understand it. I know it's real. I'm still going to live.
But you still go to church.
I do now. It's not the same faith as I did. Like, the little kid faith, it's not the same as adult faith. That's why you get baptized. And why I disagree, and I think it's vice versa, is because the Bible blatantly says that the more you subject yourself to the Bible without having a true open mind toward it, the more damage you're doing in the long run. And so if you're treating it like bullshit when you experience it, then when you try to treat it like truth, it's not going to work the same way. Because you already read this line. If you made a beat, you laid down a chorus, you were writing your verse, right? And I just happened to walk in, and I just felt like I just wrote the best verse of all time, period, hands down. No one could rebuttal it. The most amazing verse to everyone's ears, except for yours, because you already had the bias of your verse. Then when you first hear it, it's not going to matter.
But if you grew up in a household where you were told that music is bad, you wouldn't even be coming in to make the song.
Yeah,
that's my point.
But because
So that's where where's the appealing of what's the layer? Why is it bad?
Branch
why
out and try it because you haven't got that opportunity to. That's the whole reason. Like the kids, the spoiled kids, listen to heavy metal, listen to Eminem. Like his songs are a great example of that. What he talks about in there, the sense of like we're meant for creativity. We're meant to explore. We're meant to conduct science in a way. And so we're gonna want to experiment. That's all he does all day.
My point is, most people, if they get told something, especially at young ages, if you get told something enough, or you're in a position where enough, you are more susceptible to believe it or ride those beliefs, and not question into why I believe them. Like a kid
for a time period, yeah.
Yeah, for a certain. So a kid who's 14. Who might be saying, like, for instance, look, say the N-word for instance, and he's living in Alabama or whatever because he's heard his dad say it for fucking 14 years, versus a kid who lives somewhere else and hasn't had a dad who said it 14 years. That kid on the outside is more susceptible can find the truth on the outside faster than the kid in, because his dad or whatever, he's been just built on it. Not that he has no chance. Not that that he can't do it, but he is going to be more susceptible to those beliefs, and he has to spend more time peeling them back because they got put on him.
See,
you know what I'm saying?
I find, like I said, I think we disagree on this because I've seen personally. I also know that there are a couple different other parts of scripture that touch on this as well, where it is because this first kid whose dad said it, it's more than likely gonna get his ass beat one day. And that's why I said it's going to be a more rude awakening for this first kid. Because it is the thing of when you... So and that's why I said...
But my argument is that the only reason why he thinks like that to begin with is because of the environment he was in to begin with. And like, he wasn't born, and his first thought was he had racism in it. But growing up, around having it implemented into him, it was implemented. As a human being, you don't wake up like you don't see your mom and go, I hate you. It's like, I love you. And then, but if you get taught to hate your mom or hate your dad because he left or whatever, he wasn't around, and you get taught to hate that person, your mom, who's an asshole, versus like you don't know what the situation might have been until you do, and whatever, you might spend 10 years of your life hating someone that you didn't need.
Racism is nurture.
Is built. It's built.
It's nurture.
Yeah, and I'm not.
It's built upon.
And I've said it several times.
Many things are built.
Racism only exists because we're still talking about it.
Exactly.
Like I said, race doesn't matter. We're all humans. Race doesn't matter. My point here, though, specifically with religion as well, is in the sense of if that lesson that you finally receive, where it's like, we'll take racism, right? When it's finally, I'm stuck in a car with a black dude, and I realize, oh, you're not that bad. And I'm stuck in a car with a white dude, in my case, that we'll say, right? And then I have that like life-changing, life-altering moment. If experience versus ignorance, I had the experience of the other side before I was here, versus never having it and then just gradually going up. What you're saying is here, he's gonna get here first. What I'm saying is they're gonna and they're gonna get here first because of the experience.
I just feel like when the dude who, there's been twice where the father's son come to my door to try to get you to come to their church or whatever, right? When I look at the kid, I'm like, there is a better chance that you are here because you're like, if this wasn't your dad, would you be at my door right now? That is my point. Because maybe he would. But the circumstances he was put in, now because my dad thinks that or whatever, now I'm going to do this. It might take him 10 years from now to be like, maybe I don't want to go to their doorstep anymore. Right. And I would never want it to begin with, but he didn't know because it was that's my point.
And you're not wrong at all.
Versus someone who's not in it, they might still go that path. You might still find the path, you might still whatever, and it might be all on you, whatever. But I definitely believe that there's things that get implemented into people's minds, whether it's their parents, whether it's the show they watch, whether it's a teacher they have, or some sort of thing where you might be in a crucial part in your life, and that you get given something where it's like getting like chips, like you find like at some point when you're young enough, you think chips is like a viable snack, and it's not, right? But so it's like, but for a while, it takes you a long time from the first time you have a chip to where you get to the point where you can even realize that maybe this chip isn't actually good for you. Not always. But if your parents are giving you that fast food, if your parents are giving you McDonald's every day, you're more susceptible to someone who's not eating McDonald's every day, and then they eat it. Maybe they get addicted faster because they haven't had it. You know what I'm saying? But then you also have a better chance of tasting that soda being bad if you don't drink it all the time. Like if you maybe not, but it's just like in the sense of like if someone who doesn't really like soda that much.
A great example of this too is, like I mentioned earlier, the difference in when I hit the like 3% versus the 0% for me right now. Because when I hit the 0%, I feel better in my like actual like brain and body. I feel better about it, and I can feel myself feeling better about it. But when I hit the 3%, I'm getting dopamine. And so it's the different, and that's where I was going to transition to. It's the different connection. It's the different relationship. To read the Bible and to learn the truth is to have a relationship with God. And that's why, like, the people that, I love that they came and knocked on your door, but if they're adamantly doing it after you were specific in saying, hey, I don't really, like, I'm never.
Yeah, no, they're definitely very much like I can see them judging me.
Yeah, you're not
supposed to. So actually the first time it happened, I was in college, and I had a 2-hour conversation with them. I just let it. I was like,
were they Mormons?
I don't even know, dude.
I was like Mormon,
the first time
it
was 2 black people, father son. This time it was fucking a big white dude and his son, and he's got a cane. It was at my mom's house actually. He was like, oh, all the new neighbors, we go whatever. So I was like, of course, I'm fucking the one. Like, my mom, I was like, well, I just saved you from having to talk to this guy. So he's like asking me, like, do I go to church or whatever? And I'm like, no. He's like, will you read the Bible? And I'm like, I was like, I think I have a solid set of beliefs. And he's like, well, maybe it's not about if you go to church or not, but if you're going to go to heaven when you die. And I was like, what I wanted to say was, well, I'm in heaven right now. Well, not right now, but 2 minutes ago I was in heaven, you know, in the sense of like, it's right here. But I was like, that was when I decided to not have the conversation with this guy, to be like, no, like just kind of just like shove up his answer. And then he was just like, and I was like, he's like, do you go to church? I was like, no. And I was like, he's like, will you read the Bible? I was like, probably not. I was like, I have my own set of views or whatever. And then he said something else, and it was like, so are you gonna read it? Like, very forceful onto me. And I was like, bro, and I could see in his eyes you drove me. So then I was like, so when I said, I was like, oh, I wrote my own Bible. That's what I said to him, and I know that triggered the fuck out of him. He was like, this fucking guy writes his own Bible, only one, you know. So I was just like, but now, and I was like, well, I'll give these to my mom. This is my mom's house. Like, I will give them to her, and I did. I gave them to her, and I told him like, this guy wanted you to come to his church or whatever. But I was like, yeah. Once I said, so then he was, but yeah, basically he was just like, he's like, do you want to go to heaven when you die? And I was just like, in my mind, I'm like, you don't, like, there's nothing, like, I decide.
He doesn't reserve the right.
Yeah, you don't reserve the right to tell me what I should believe in.
That's why, yeah.
You can tell me what you believe in, and if I vibe with it, then I might be inclined to go with you to go see more. But trying to force it on me and, like, being, and, like, and it was crazy. It was like, say a sentence, right? It's like, hey, blah, blah, blah. So you're going to read it? You know what I mean? Are you going to read the, like, every 2 seconds, just bring it back to, like, questioning if I'm going to read the Bible. And I was like, bro, I'm not going to, you're not making me want to read it, bro. I'm not going to go read it now because you're judging me.
The problem is that a lot of those people haven't read it for themselves, because I can show you 2 different verses that say blatantly, if that's what you're doing, you're wrong.
Yeah.
You are not following.
Then I didn't feel sorry. I didn't feel sorry for me. for being in the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't feel sorry for the dude. But when I look and I just see this kid with his hands in his pocket, that's who I feel sorry for.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm like, you don't have a choice. You didn't get a fair shot. Your parents didn't give you every single ball, every single thing, every single chance. They didn't give you a crayon. They didn't give you a paintbrush to know if you like to do it or not. You just got thrown in this thing, and it's going to take whatever amount of time for him to decide for himself.
Mm-hmm.
And how much time went by.
And like I said, I feel like, I personally feel like situations like that, if the kid's not enjoying themselves, if something like if
I couldn't tell if he was enjoying himself or not. So, but just on the outside looking in.
I'm gonna push him, like, by all means, if that's what you want to be doing.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna force you to do anything you're not gonna do, because that's not my job as a Christian. For you, for him, for everyone, that's not my job. My job is to bring you to the person who can show you who you're supposed to be. That is my job. That's why I said it's about a relationship. Because, like I said, there are several points in the Bible that blatantly say this is a tutorial. Everybody's not going to play the game and do the tutorial. It is a reference to how you're supposed to live. And that's why when he asks you, do you want to go to heaven? I'm not going to act like it's not a valid question, because in my reference, it blatantly says the parameter is to know Jesus.
Yeah. But in my belief is
To the
heaven and
same
hell
extent,
is on earth.
It also blatantly
That's
says,
my belief.
It blatantly says that the whole reason he died is to come to us. So if I truly believe that he died for me, and I truly believe that he died for you, then I would be blasphemous to sit here and try to force you to do that. And that's why I said the same thing to him several times, where I was like, I'm never going to force you, but if I'm feeling called to push you, I'm going to push you. But I'm never going to force you, because why would I force you? I'm trying to get you to follow a shepherd. I'm not trying to get you to follow a being who's making you do things for him. I'm not trying to get you to follow a creature that wants anything from you. He says blatantly in the Bible, come as you are, where you are, no matter what you're doing, no matter who you are, no matter what you've done. If you're in the middle of taking a life, come as you are. Because it's a relationship. It's the same thing as like the people that are like, oh, I should talk to my mom. I don't care how bad you screwed up. If your mom's a half decent person, if your mom has told you she's loved you before, try to reach out there. Because it's the same. He's the Holy Father. He's a parent. And so as a Christian, you're called to show people that, hey, your dad wants to talk to you. I'm not going to make you go over there and talk to him. Because if anybody made me go over there and talk to my biological father, now I have a problem with you. Because I don't really know my biological father. I haven't seen my biological father in years. So if he were to pop up out of nowhere, I'd want to be able to process and take my time to go talk to him. Who the f are you to tell me, no, you got to do it now? I don't care if he's on his deathbed. I'm probably going to go see him, but that's a decision I have to make when we get there. So who are you to sit there and try to drive me over the bridge? I hate that about now current Christians, and I don't use hate lightly. It burns inside of me because I know what it feels like to have a relationship, and I know how much damage you're doing. And that's why I said I don't agree with you, because the people that are forcing it on anyone are doing nothing but damage.
I still believe that.
That's everything. If we force music on somebody, are they going to subscribe and listen?
I still believe that there's certain values, thoughts, principles, whatever you want to say, that are implemented onto children when they're young.
Yeah.
And people when you're 16.
That's my job.
And that's
as a dad,
what subliminal messaging is. That's all this stuff. So my point is that there's certain things that get, so people, like, that's why people have to peel back the layers of why do I believe this? Why do I think this? What am I feeling? Why am I feeling this? What is this feeling? You have to peel back those layers, because there might be something that you got from your father, or the lack of your father, or there's something that your mother gave you, or even the simple fact of when you're a kid, if you're on your phone, showing the kid like they're trying to be in your attention and you're just on your phone. When they get older, they're going to be on their phone.
Generational change.
Exactly. So all those things matter. That's why the school system is like that, so that by the time you're done, the whole point of the school system currently today is to create a working society.
Oh, yeah, that's
9 to 5 society. That's the point. So it's like they're going. That's what the results you get. then those kids that you have to break out of that. When you go to college or whatever, even if you don't, what happens? You go get a job, and then you're in the thing. So it's like you have to break out of that. They're not telling you to make enough money to survive, to chase your dreams, to what do you actually want to do with your life? What are you here to do? They're pushing you into a certain way, and kids get susceptible into that. That's my whole. So it's like we have to, as parents, you have to be aware of what your kid is getting influenced by, and what are you doing. And then at the same time, it's like there's positive and negatives. Like implementing a principle of caring to someone else, or to being kind to everyone, and things like that was a good principles to instill on someone, versus like hate thy neighbor, fucking look at their skin color, those things, like all those things. But kids get put into that, so then you have to acknowledge that as time goes on, these are just kids that grew up with a set of values that maybe they didn't believe in, but they got put in enough time where now they believe in them, or they think they do.
It's the
and
same
you
thing.
As a person, you have to go through
that
and
same principle
unpeel.
is the same thing as you giving him the drum set, and you were like, give him the sticks, have him try it. That's why I said, if he's not called to ministry, if he came to me and he said, Dad, I don't want to go to church anymore, I would say, why? Let's talk about it. And I think the core of what you're touching on is people do not treat their children like human beings anymore. They treat them like you're my spawn.
I don't think many people treat anyone as a human being anymore.
And that's like and that's why.
And we also allow
on the peeling back that layer.
We allow certain entities to reign supreme.
Oh yeah,
across the land.
1,000%.
And it's
the Bible
fucked up.
too.
So that's why it's like it started with at the end of the day, we have to, whenever there's something, even like a thought comes through my head, I'm like, why did I think of this? Was it a divine thought? Did I hear it from someone else? Just like music, like if you get shown a song, if Eddie shows you a song and he says I like it, you might like it just because Eddie liked it. Mm-hmm. But if you heard it on your own, you might have not liked it. So it's like, okay, what is it about that what is it about Eddie that's showing me this, showing me that? And if Eddie's leading you somewhere astray versus somewhere good, and you don't know that, and yet you live your whole life, just like in Talladega Nights makes fun of it. His dad tells him, if you ain't first, you're last. Mm-hmm. He's in the middle of the fucking right outside the Applebee's, yelling at his father 30 years later. And then his dad was high, and then now he's not high, and he says, well, yo, you could be first, second, third, fourth. Hell, you could even be fifth. And then Ricky Bobby turns around and says, well, I lived my whole life based off that. Yeah. So that kid just lived his whole ideology off of something that his dad... Now, that's just a comedy and a joke, but it's summarizing life. See, but this is what happens. This is what happens to kids. Any show that they watch, anything that you can get easily influenced in certain ways, good and bad. You want to build the next generation to be better than you. You want to teach the things that your father or mother taught or didn't teach you, that you're like, this is what I want to pass on, and I'm going to delete this from this. So that's what you do. But some people don't have the wherewithal to do that, and then they become parents and they have kids, and then some lineage is fully influenced by whatever the money marketing tool was that year. Whether it was they want you to get vaccinated, whether they want you to vote to have a war, whether they want you to vote to end this, to have that, rights for this, right for that. And then you have this whole family string line of people who've been influenced by exterior thought for negative purposes, whether it's whatever. Now, you could flip and say, okay, well, if you do that for a positive, look at this family that's all positive because of their implementation. But at the same time, it all be, just like you said, you have to let the kid choose. So you have to but you also have to, as a parent, bring him to some of the certain spaces, right? So that's what we do as people, but some people aren't like that. And then so many people are influenced. Everyone's influenced by something, whether it's an ad that pops up and now you want to go get Taco Bell because you heard the boom, maybe it's a fucking AC or a hammock pops up on the Walmart ad, and you go to Walmart and it's on clearance and you're like, let me get this hammock. It might be good for you, but you might have only bought it because you saw it or something. And now we have these phones and everything that are reading messages, influence.
And we're at the point now where you have to do this. Like it's not a question of like, all right, how do we stop it? You can't. You literally can't. We're at the point where it can build itself. And so it's how much good can I put out? And like I said, as a devout follower, I know that my job is to walk my truth. My truth comes from my book. Because my Bible doesn't look like everybody else's. I've written in my Bible. I've drawn in my Bible. Not the ones I have. I don't have that Bible anymore. And I had, funnily enough, used Bree's that she did it with. Because I don't have my Bible anymore. And I need to make a new one. And it's because my God's not your God, not his God, not Bree's God, not anybody's. I was made, crafted.
Mine is me.
So be it.
Mine is I. I and I.
So be it. It's not my job to sit here and tell you you're wrong or right.
Yeah.
It's my job to say I have my book. And my book tells me that you are correct in a sense because my God lives inside of me and through me and with me. And so we could say the same sentence. I just think slightly different. You think slightly different. I have my truth that I know to be true. You have your truth that you know to be true as well. I forgot what I was watching. I think it might have been no, definitely was on. I forgot what I was. It might have been a sermon actually, but he was saying now racists think they're right.
Yeah,
because exactly like you were saying, they just grew up and this is what they know to be true. That's part of their book because they didn't read my book. They didn't do the things you did to make your book. That's their book. Their book is that. That's what they know.
Well, it's a clash of truths, right? Because like even you go back to look at wars in the past, right? Like World War I, World War II. The Germans thought they were on the righteous path. They thought they were doing
principles.
Like, their God-given right? Mm-hmm. God-given message that they were trying to deliver onto the world.
But they weren't born with that. They weren't born like that, though. No. You know what I mean?
Nobody's born like anything. You're a sponge.
No.
You're built.
No, not at all. I get that.
You're slowly
but
built.
Everybody is.
But just like what I was saying is that on any side of an argument that both parties think they're right. Both parties think that their truth is the truth. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times, more than not, it's somewhere in the middle where the truth actually is. Yeah. So applying that to the concepts of being raised either racist or raised not racist for the example, right? It's just like, and when you're being raised racist, you think that everybody is like that. If you're 13 years old and you're saying the N-word and you're saying, like this person and calling this person that, like a slave or whatever, then yeah, you're gonna think that's okay. You think everybody does that. If you're on the opposite side of the spectrum, right, where like your parents raised you to be polite to people, always say please and thank you, hold doors open for the elderly, this, that, and the third. You're gonna think that everybody everybody has that same mindset as you until you reach, I don't know, like high school, or even like some people might get it at middle school, some people might get high school, some people get it in college or the college age, right? But like we're all eventually gain our independence through learning that we all think differently or seeing an experience that we all think differently.
You just pinged like a memory that I haven't thought of in so long. But I was a little Delta baby, so we flew for free a lot. But the issue with flying for free and on standby is you don't always sit together. You get whatever seat you get. So as a kid, I used to sit like by myself a lot because my mom would just be on a different part of the plane or like in a different row, whatever. So if we can get whoever to switch. Now there's this one dude that like was adamant about not switching because he had the window seat, blah, 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 blah. And I sat down in the middle seat. And he just kept looking at me. Like, I kept seeing him just look at me, like with disdain, blatant disdain. And I was probably about 7, maybe, if I had to guess. And so I knew. And, like, I just kept hearing him murmur. And then I would need help with things because I was 7. And I just asked him because he was an adult that could help me. And I remember towards the landing, he looked at me and he said, "You don't hate me, do you?" And I I've thought about that moment several different times throughout my life, and it's been a couple years since I've thought about it. But those words will forever live in my brain. You don't hate me, do you?
Because why would you?
And because to me, it didn't make sense. Why would you ask me a stupid question like that?
Right.
I don't know you.
But there's someone in your shoes that would have said yes.
Yeah, and there's a kid that would have been the same age, younger, that would have said yes.
Just
There are kids out here that are being taught to
whatever got
sling guns,
influenced.
yeah.
Exactly. 100%.
And it's all in and that's why I said we're in a world now where all we can do is put out what we know to be true. That's it.
And the only way you know, because you peeled back the layers.
Yeah.
And you questioned yourself enough to do it.
And you know you're
And
a
that is
human being living here.
That is just my point of just the influence. And there's people who are going to be more susceptible to be thrown into these certain ponds based off whatever their surroundings are.
Disagree with you.
You know?
But I will say, I feel like majority, I'm confident enough to say the majority of like newfound, I won't even say newfound Christians, the majority of true, honest children of God who are adults in their, and have faith and devout faith within being an adult who grew up in a church household, it's not the same faith. I can speak on this, Bree can speak on this, because I'm not the same person. So back then, even though I could feel the Spirit, I could tell it was there, I got it, I understood it, I felt it as a kid, because like I said, my grandfather was powerful. I still didn't really care. And this might be the first time I'm even admitting that out loud fully. I did not care. I loved to watch my grandfather preach, but it's just because he was my grandfather and he was passionate about it. I didn't care about the sermon. I didn't care about God. I didn't care about the Bible. I didn't care. Most of the time, I would sneak off with the other preacher's kid, and we'd go in the back and just fuck around in like the younger kids' room that they weren't using. Like that's most of my memories of church as a kid, and every different church we went to. Just trying to find a way to sneak off and sneak out. I didn't care. It was doing more damage. Because I was sitting there falling asleep. I hated it. I hate saying it out loud, especially on the podcast, but it's the truth. I did not like it.
Boring.
I hated it. As a child, I did highly, highly disdained. But now, as an adult, and as somebody who's had to relearn and go back and undo that damage first, I understand more than I did understand, than I could have understood, because I've also gone through worse experiences. I've seen lows, I've seen highs, more so than I knew were capable back then. And that's why I was saying, the person that goes this way, because they were in that church house, that was me. There was a whole lot of weight to be this godly man on me. My grandfather used to tell me every day as a child, you're a good boy, a great boy. You're going to grow up, be a good man, a great man, a godly man. I try to say that to him every time I think about my grandfather. Because as much as it put that weight on top of me and kept me plateaued without caring, when I finally decided to jump up and learn and read and figure it out, and I got strong enough to pick that weight up, it's become a huge tool. And that's for me. Everybody's not walking my faith. Everybody's not walking my story, walking my shoes. And I know for a fact that at the very least, reading the Bible will give you an amazing story. And that's why I always push people. And I say, I'm not going to force you. Because why would I force you to read any book recommendation I have? I know this book to be true. So I'm going to recommend you read it. Because I don't want you reading any other bullshit. That's how it should be. That's how all of us should be who are called. Point blank, period. If you're doing elsewise, if you're forcing anybody to, like, you're missing the entire point of it. And those people need to be brought to Jesus. I mean that wholeheartedly. Because you don't know them if you're forcing anybody to do anything that they don't want to. We are all human beings. I don't want anybody to force me to do.
I forgot to turn off the air.
Yeah.
Just heard it. Just heard it just now.
Well, what is one thing you guys are looking forward to this week?
Un poquito más. Bien. Un poquito más.
Getting closer to being caught up
Un
on the
poquito más.
podcast.
I
And
got
hopefully getting this mucus out of my lungs so I can lay down that song. Because I've been trying for
I'm
like
sorry,
3
say
days.
it one more time.
What's one thing you're looking forward to this week?
This week.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, dog. I'm just kind of going with each hour as I get it right now.
That's fair.
Getting more hours. That's what hours in a day. That's what I'm looking forward to. As cliche as that sounds. What you looking forward to this week?
Well, technically, it'll be next week, I guess, right? But next weekend will be the first weekend where I don't really have to do anything. Like, at least nothing planned right now, so, like, I'll probably go come over here, maybe work on the Helen Trip feed, go look over some of it, and find something else to do, just do some Dwin time, Dwin things, you know, be good.
So you upgrade your pants ass with the zipper pockets?
Oh, yeah, got the
Yes, sir.
zips.
Zips, baby.
I got the regular pockets, too,
Got the zips.
but I got the zips as well.
I got no zip.
Go on any roller coaster, not have to worry.
Right.
True.
Jason lost his, what did he lose? His bandana, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I
Last one of my perspectives on life is that when you go on the roller coaster, if you have to like hold your phone in your wallet or whatever, you're missing. You didn't experience it.
Yeah.
You didn't to the best of the experience because you're worried about something. Once I zip these pockets up, I know my shit's secure. You can just enjoy the ride.
Facts.
And when the ride's over, you get off. You go do something else. You know. So. But anything else?
Stop
People?
worrying so much. Enjoy the ride.
Yeah.
When it's
No,
done.
you have to prepare yourself so you can not worry.
Facts.
If I walk blindly down the street, you're gonna get drilled by a car at some point.
Yeah.
But if I see the cars coming, I know when I want to walk, I know whatever, then you can enjoy your walk across.
Where you're gonna go if the car comes.
Yeah.
You know.
If you're I'm prepared to move if necessary. If you're not prepared, if you're walking around, you got your keys dangling on the floor and your phone's over there and you got to like pick up all your stuff before you get across, you're going to get whacked by the car. You know. So it's just like you got to be prepared. You got to prepare yourself so that you're ready for the moments to come and then you just enjoy them.
Stay ready, ain't gotta
It's a
get
good way to leave it off. I feel like.
Because if you two like left to go like run and play in the park, but he didn't bring his son, 10 minutes down the road, he's going to be like, where's my son? My son's doing, I got to make sure he's all right. So he's got to run back from the park. If he just brought his son to begin with, just look over, he's on the playground, you can shoot his hoop, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, anything else, anyone? Episode 25.
Yeah, 25 is nice.
It's probably a little longer than 20 minutes when you told Carter.
Yeah, I know. It's at least like an hour.
So he's done pretty well.
He's done very well.
Yeah, it's been at least an
Pretty
hour.
good.
So I want to say, just to call how long this podcast was, I want to say
220.
It's been a long
228. That's what you're thinking? I was thinking like
Might be more, actually, but.
I was thinking like 215, maybe like, probably somewhere between 215 240.
You've been doing longer ones recently, so.
What are you saying, Calvin?
I was saying it's been a pretty decent one.
Yeah, it's definitely a long one. 'Cause we probably started like what?
Super proud of
6:30?
him because I didn't even give him. Like, I mean, we had the movie on, but he was pretty much just kind of
Yeah.
occupying himself with toys.
Yeah, I've thought about that a couple
Yeah.
times.
For most of that time, I was super proud of. But to be fair, like me and him played today, man. I built tent in the living room, did all that.
Nice.
So
Oh,
like,
yeah. He's had his time. He's had his
I
dad
made
time.
sure, yeah, exactly. I made sure we got it in first because I knew he would just be sitting through this. And so, for all
Nice.
y'all that are like, oh, he just made his kid sit there. Yeah, I did. Because as a parent, you still got to live your life. I made sure he's good. I made sure he was fed before we
Jason's
came.
slacking.
As
I'm just kidding.
a parent,
This
you
kid's
still
been
gotta
born
look
for
at
the
that.
24 hours.
Right.
Go take care of your
36 hours.
hair business, dude.
All right, man.
I-
Episode 25.
Yeah.
Ocean waves. I don't think there was anything to cut out, so won't have to do it this time. Maybe Calvin's entire 30-minute segment. Just silence his views.
You can cut out the I paused and redid it.
What?
I don't know how to say it without saying it again.
I
I
feel
forgot to
no,
make a
I
I
mark.
feel
I'm
like
not
we just
cutting
leave
it.
everything. Nothing
No,
came
because
back.
I went into. I don't want to say that word I said, which is why I reset it. So I will.
It's
go
gonna
in
be
and do it
said
if you
multiple
need me to.
times at this point.
I don't know what the word is, but
All right,
say it
y'all.
after we're done recording.
I'm Indigo
It's all
Ryan,
right.
the Navigator.
Dwin the Kin.
I am Calbeeno.
Ocean
The
Waves,
Z-Lot.
episode 25.
Is that right or wrong?
The Guru coming soon.
Oh, yeah,
Much
2
more to
weeks.
come.
2 weeks for the Guru. 1 week?
What day is it?
Well, by the time this comes out, it'll already
It's gonna be out.
Yeah.
But we did this. This is the 18th. Today? 17th. 17th today.
17th, yeah.
So
Crap, I got like
1 week.
2 things.
Comes out in 1 week from today, and will probably come out 2 weeks after, or 2 weeks before this one comes out. Or so. But yep, episode 25.
Check out the
Ocean
Guru.
Waves.
It's been out for 2 weeks.
Release. Appreciate everyone who's listening, watching.
Leave comments.
We'll catch you later,
Let us know
man.
what you thought.
Catch you later for episode 26.
Bye.